says if you send him to Washington, he'll deliver on those $2,000 checks. Now, early voting shows Republicans will need a strong turnout north of here in Atlanta, and that's why President Trump tweeting he's heading down here tomorrow at 9 p.m., rallying in Dalton.
Fox's Griff Jenkins, if Democrats win both races, the chamber would be split 50-50, with Vice President-elect Kamala Harris casting the tie-breaking vote. America is listening to Fox News.
Why are you still going to the post office? Do it all online with Stamps.com. Avoid trips to the post office, print postage, send invoices, letters, or packages, and schedule pickups right from your home or office, 24/7. Get close to 10% off first-class stamps, up to 40% off priority mail, and up to 62% off UPS shipping rates. Go to Stamps.com, click on the microphone, and enter code FOX for a 4-week trial plus free postage and a digital scale. Stamps.com, code FOX.
Tens of thousands of Iraqis gathering in Baghdad to mark 1 year since the killing of a top Iranian general in a U.S. drone strike. Iran responded to the death of Qasem Soleimani by launching a barrage of missiles at bases in Iraq. More than 100 U.S. troops suffered traumatic brain injuries in those attacks. So far, COVID-19 vaccination targets for the American people have fallen well short of promises.
Dr. Moncef Slaoui, top advisor for U.S. vaccine development, says there must be a better effort in getting vaccines to people. He feels the inoculation rate will rise, but said on CBS Face the Nation they need help from states to determine where doses should go, whether it's health facilities or drugstore chains.
That has to be done with people that have granular knowledge of their population, their movements, where the older people are.
Dr. Slaoui says not only will getting past the holiday season help numbers, but there is the promise of yet another vaccine approval that could come in a matter of weeks. Gernal Scott, Fox News.
NBA Hall of Famer Paul Westphal has died. Westphal won a championship with the Boston Celtics in 1974 and moved to coaching after his playing career ended. The 70-year-old was diagnosed with brain cancer last August. The star of Wonder Woman 1984 announces a new series documenting accomplishments of women.
Gal Gadot took to Instagram to announce a brand new National Geographic docuseries that focuses on women across the globe. It's titled Impact.
It's a powerful docuseries that tells the story of...
Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 28th through July 4th for ForkFest 2021 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. ForkFest happens the week after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and ForkFest is decentralized, which means no one is in charge. That also means there's no ticket cost. Just reserve your camping, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 28th through July 4th. Where better to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire? You can relax and enjoy the camaraderie of like-minded people, or you can create whatever experience or event you'd like others to have. If you're planning an event for ForkFest, be sure to let others know in advance. You can connect with fellow ForkFesters via the unofficial Telegram chat or the ForkFest forum. Links to those are on the unofficial website, forkfest.party. Mark your calendar for June 28th through July 4th, 2021. We'll see you at forkfest.party.
It seems like we're constantly hearing different fitness advice. Exercise 2 to 3 times a week for at least 30 minutes a day. And don't forget cardio. But don't exercise too much or you'll get hurt. So, how much exercise should you be getting? Well, actually not that much, since the human body is only built to withstand walking a short distance before lying or sitting down again. In fact, a group of biologists from Stanford found that walking more than 5 feet at a time can cause joint pain, fatigue, and even extreme hunger. The study concluded that the maximum effort the human body can safely endure is reaching for an item high on a shelf. Our bodies simply aren't built to stand up and move around. So maybe those high-intensity spin classes and daily jogs aren't such a good idea. Instead of walking up the stairs every day, try taking the elevator whenever possible. You can even use a fitness tracker to let you know when you've been exerting too much energy. Your body will appreciate it. For The Onion, I'm Jill Hooper.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
Yes, it is Free Talk Live, the live Monday night edition. Our telephone number,
is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. If you would like to join the conversation, talk about anything that's on your mind. In the studio tonight, it is myself, the captain.
Yeah, it's Ian.
And nobody.
And we are here to bring you the program. And as such, I thought we would kick things off tonight. This came from several different hosts in show prep today. Julian Assange, UK judge blocks extradition of WikiLeaks founder to the United States.
Does that mean they're going to cut him loose, or they're just going to hold him in prison there for the rest of his life for nothing?
Good question.
That's a great question. Near as I can tell from my breeze through this article from the BBC, this is merely a pause. It is not. It is not like the UK has, stepped in and said,
Well, that's it.
No.
By this point, I would just be like, why don't you take me out and shoot me behind the chemical shed, and we can all save ourselves a lot of trouble.
It's interesting you say that, having not read the article, because the reason the UK judge gave for pausing this particular extradition is because he's concerned that Mr. Assange will commit suicide if extradited to the United States. He does not trust the United States.
Actually commit suicide or get suicided?
Well, these things could be interpreted between the lines, I think.
I thought there was supposed to be a rule in the UK that said they're not allowed to extradite somebody to a place where they could possibly face a death penalty.
They can't extradite somebody who they expect to face the death penalty, but there have been times, for example, when in order to get an extradition, the United States has had to agree not to execute the person in question.
Interesting.
Has that happened here?
I don't know that Assange was there ever any question of treason? The death penalty for? He couldn't be facing treason. He's not even an American. You can't commit treason against a country that isn't your country.
That's what you would think.
If he's
welcome to 2020 or 2021 now, I guess.
If he's not even an
he's
American.
Not charged with treason. He's charged with aiding in some kind of computer crime, like helping break a password.
So if he's not even an American, how is an extradition even possible? Shouldn't he be?
Well, you can extradite anybody anywhere, and let's put it in a different context. If he had broken into, or if he had helped somebody break a password so that person could, defraud a little old lady's home or something. Do they have? Yeah, I guess
Sure.
they do. Then certainly there would be no question that he would be extraditable for that.
Okay.
Because it was connected to a crime in the United States. The thing that makes this different is that the thing that it was connected to in the United States wasn't a crime. It was somebody doing their actual duty,
right?
Which is
journalism.
To ignore the law when the law is wrong,
right? And WikiLeaks, of course, the popular website that, in my opinion, doing journalism, right, where the journalists weren't.
Well, and although that's something, your average journalist, I think, will certainly know that if they assist somebody in breaking into a computer to get that doesn't belong to them, to get a piece of information, and they get caught at that, they're going to be in some trouble.
Right. So this article, this is from the BBC.com, and we have a couple of different news articles just to make sure that we get the gist of what this is about. This goes on to say, WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange cannot be extradited to the United States. A court in London has ruled. The judge blocked the request because of concerns over Mr. Assange's mental health and risk of suicide in the U.S.
See, an introductory passage, at least, and I know frequently the small print takes away what the big print gives, but that doesn't sound like a temporary stay.
Yeah, the word blocked doesn't sound like pause to me.
Right. So
now, of course, he could be reversed by somebody else. That's always a possibility in the court system.
it seems to me, and we'll go on, and see what the article, but if memory serves, there is some sort of a bit where, like, they're looking for some sort of assurance from the United States that he's not.
Oh, okay. So that would be a temporary stay then.
Yeah.
If they have a demand.
We'll see how it pans out between these two things. Mr. Assange, who is wanted over the publication of thousands of classified documents in 2010 and 2011, says the case is politically motivated. Expressing disappointment at the ruling, the U.S. Justice Department noted that its legal arguments had prevailed.
See, I think he would be better off extradited. And the reason I think that is because I don't think an American jury would convict him.
You don't think he'd get Epsteined?
He might.
Because I'm with you on sort of reading between the lines here. When the judge says he's concerned about Mr. Assange's mental health and risk of suicide in the U.S., it doesn't, I don't know if that's a direct quote from the judge or not, but if it is, that makes me think he's like, first of all, Mr. Assange is in bad mental health. Second of all, I'm worried about the risk of suicide in the U.S. Now, whether or not he's saying I'm worried about Mr. Assange's risk of committing suicide, or I'm worried about the potential of, quote, suicide, unquote, in the U.S. is a whole different story.
It's hard to say because he would have access to lots of information from the jail that, of course, we do not.
Yeah. It's the position of the U.S. that the leaks broke the law and endangered lives. While we are extremely disappointed in the court's ultimate decision, we are gratified that the United States prevailed on every point of law raised, the Justice Department said. The U.S. authorities have 14 days in which to lodge an appeal and are expected to do so.
Okay, so it's an appeal. If it's being appealed, then it's a decision.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Assange will now be taken back to Belmarsh Prison, where he's being held, and a full application for his bail will be made on Wednesday. Maybe he can get bailed out.
So he may actually get out. That would be the biggest, the biggest good sign is, if he was actually walking the street again somewhere, I think that if he does hit the street again, they are unlikely to rearrest him and extradite him.
Really? Even in Great Britain?
Yeah, I would be surprised just because politically they don't want to close that can of worms and then open it again.
Yeah.
People will be irate.
It's interesting that they would be putting him out on bail because, they, from
well,
what
he
I understand,
has to
they have
apply for it, so whether or not it's granted is a whole different story.
Yeah, but I thought that they had no reason to hold him with the exception of this extradition.
Oh,
so
yeah, maybe. Well, it goes,
sometimes they hold you pending the state's appeal, depending on and British law, of course, is going to be different than ours.
Right.
But during an appeal, they'll let him out on bail, whereas prior to that, they wouldn't.
Yeah. Well, during the other side's appeal, they're more likely to let him out on bail than on
That's what I'm saying.
his appeal of a.
Right. He's not going to appeal this. This was in his favor.
Decision. Yeah.
Well, his lawyer, Ed Fitzgerald, told the court there would be evidence to show Mr. Assange would not abscond.
Okay.
So apparently the lawyer is giving the court assurances that he's not going to fly.
Yeah, but that also indicates that the court is not convinced that their business with Mr. Assange is concluded.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like that would be...
Well, I'd be worried about being abducted. I mean,
yeah,
maybe
they may just whack him.
Yeah, maybe the UK government won't take him again because again, remember he was he was wanted by the UK government because of the alleged charges out of Sweden, which ultimately ended up being dropped. But he still had to sit in a jail cell for a year because he missed a court date.
Right.
Because he ran from capture there.
603-283-6160. Do you think this is good news for Mr. Assange? I'd prefer to see him pardoned. We've got more Free Talk Live coming up.
Look, I'm sorry, but you're in for a world of pain if you use Koinomi. The reason is their wallet doesn't support payments. The solution is simple. Let them hear your voice. Message Koinomi on Twitter, it takes 5 seconds, and tell them AnyPay sent you, because they're on the fence right now, and your voice will prove that people care about using Bitcoin for payments. Go tweet at Koinomi now. Or even better, leave a review in the App Store. They really pay attention there. Thanks.
Having taken her father's throne, Sarah Calhoun has fallen out with one of her best allies, and her brother Nathaniel heads into Imperial Philadelphia with a reckless plan. Her uncle Thomas, armed with new powers and new allies, aims to remove Sarah from her throne and from the world of the living. To survive, and to gain the strength she needs to fight an impossible war, Sarah must unite the Mound Builder Kings to enact an ancient rite that will propel her beyond mortality. Servant Daughter by T.J. Butler is the newest entry in the Dragon Award-winning Witchy War series from Baen Books at BaenBooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it.
Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to DivvyProject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from DivvyProject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. DivvyProject.org. D-I-V-I Project.org.
Later in the hour, the U.S. Postal Service announces that you can deliver the mail yourself if you think it's so easy. But first up in health news, researchers from Harvard University have found a strong link between male virility and wearing Motley Crue denim jackets. For the study, researchers paired fans of the band with a control group and found that those wearing Motley Crue attire were far more likely to knock out some chick's totally jacked boyfriend and then do it with her later that same day than those who simply wore casual clothes and probably wouldn't know what it feels like to have 2 threesomes in one night.
Men who own jackets with an image of Tommy Lee and Nikki Sixx sitting on top of a pair of breasts with nipples in the shape of pentagrams showed higher levels of sexual potency, endurance, and libido. These guys do it all the time, and sometimes even in public. They don't care.
Although the study primarily focused on men in Motley Crue jackets, researchers also found that men who listened to Nirvana had a high likelihood of staying virgins forever.
This is the Onion News Network.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
You can put the Liberty Radio Network on the air in your area. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how. Broadcast.lrn.fm.
603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160.
What's that?
It sounds like some type of a phone number.
Oh, they changed the studio line, didn't they?
Yeah,
I was thinking you're getting that completely wrong.
It's 603.
That's like your girl's number or something.
283-61. Yeah, maybe I'm just being mean, right? Oh, my girl broke up with me. Quick, everybody prank call. 603-283-6160. No, that is the studio call-in line for this show. This show, of course, is Free Talk Live. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. I just want to take a minute and say, big old Jedi albino, don't carry me too far away.
Big old Jedi albino, don't carry me too far away.
Right. That's the lyrics, right? That's what they say, right?
Yep. I like it.
I don't know if there are any
Excuse
albino.
me while I kiss this guy. Do.
Exactly. The greatest hits of the drunken asses here on Free Talk Live. We have been talking about this news out of the UK. From multiple sources. Apparently, Julian Assange has had his extradition blocked by a UK judge. So they were preparing to extradite him to the U.S., and the UK judge said, wait just a minute. We are concerned over Mr. Assange's mental health and his risk of suicide in the U.S. Is that an English accent? I think so. I was trying. And so we wanted to find out a little bit more about this. Well, what did the judge say? Well, the judge said, District Judge Vanessa Baratzer. That's funny.
Okay, that was definitely not a female British
Baratzer.
accent you did.
No, not at all. Ruled that while U.S. prosecutors had met the tests for Mr. Assange to be extradited for trial, the U.S. was incapable of preventing him from attempting to take his own life.
So maybe...
oh, wow.
What happened to, what's his name?
Epstein.
Right.
Was an influence
You mean when
here.
he didn't kill himself?
Yeah.
I got the distinct vibe that, again, reading between the lines, they're not saying that, hey, we know Epstein got Epsteined, and so that's why we're not sending Assange over.
But the thing is, that's nonsense. I don't think Epstein didn't get Epsteined, is the thing. Epstein's
right.
sitting on the beach in Tel Aviv. Epstein got extracted, I think.
Yeah. Outlining evidence of his self-harm and suicidal thoughts, she said, the overall impression is of a depressed and sometimes despairing man fearful for his future. Well,
oh, how could that be? Isn't that a strange thing?
Yeah, like what tipped you off, Einstein? What was your first clue?
So you're saying he's rational.
She went on to say that I am satisfied that the procedures described by the U.S. will not prevent Mr. Assange from finding a way to commit suicide, and for this reason, I have decided extradition would be oppressive by reason of mental harm, and I order his discharge.
Okay.
Oh, so she ordered his discharge.
Yep.
So why is he having to bail out if she's ordered his discharge?
I don't know. I mean, I could take that out of context and say all sorts of gross things.
I mean, maybe she's doing medical tests.
Oh, maybe.
What do you mean by that? Medical tests on what?
Well, maybe there's some discharge that needs to be tested. Maybe he caught something from Pamela Anderson.
Is she getting a side of fries with that order of discharge?
I think you mixed your metaphors.
Oh, I'm sure I have. Have you met me?
Are they freedom fries?
Mr. Assange, who wore a blue suit and a green face mask in the dock, I don't know what that has to do with this story, closed his eyes as the judge read out her ruling on Monday. His fiancée, Stella Morris, with whom he has 2 young sons, wept.
How did he do that?
When did that happen?
Wait.
He went from Pamela Anderson to this lawyer, Stella, and had 2 kids?
He got her... Did he get her knocked up like twice in like the lawyering room?
I don't know. It doesn't say how young the sons are.
That's true, but it does say
he was
young.
locked up for like 7 years in the Ecuadorian embassy, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. She could have represented him like way back when.
Little bit of conjugal visitation going on.
It's possible.
Well, that's where Pamela Anderson was visiting him.
That's true.
So he probably had his fiancée visit him as well.
Yeah, I heard they conjugated.
Anyway, Stella said that, Stella apparently wept and was comforted by WikiLeaks editor-in-chief Kristen Rafsman.
Hands to yourself, Christian. He's in jail.
It's a girl, Kristen.
Oh.
Speaking outside the court after the ruling, she called on the U.S. president to, quote, end this now. Mr. President, tear down these prison walls, she said. Let our little boys have their father. Free Julian, free the press, and free us all.
Yeah. Wow.
Well,
I mean, the thing is, Trump wouldn't do that because he thought it was the right thing. But if he thought it would irritate somebody he didn't like, he might. I can see him doing that to troll somebody.
Well, yeah. It says in English law this would be enough, or it would be enough for him to be charged with a crime, and so the route was open for Mr. Assange to face trial for the same in the United States. So that they're just saying that Britain and the United States sort of see eye to eye on whether or not what the U.S. is accusing of him is a crime. But British extradition law also requires the judge to consider Mr. Assange's health. And it's the effect of his possible detention in near solitary confinement in a supermax prison that proved decisive. The U.S., in the judge's conclusion, can't stop a mentally unwell man taking his own life in those conditions.
They're basically saying our prisons are better than yours. She made the reference to, I think it was HMS Belmarsh, which was where
well,
they were
he was saying when
him.
he went in, so maybe she's saying our prisons drove him crazy.
No, she's saying that she believes that Belmarsh was able to keep him from killing himself, but the U.S. cannot keep him from killing himself, so therefore U.S. prisons are not as good.
Because making you suffer longer is a great kindness.
Yeah. No, it's not.
Yeah, this isn't really a great ruling, but it's the best ruling that we could have hoped for at the moment.
At the moment, yeah. When the U.S. does appeal, it'll have to convince more senior judges otherwise, and by otherwise they mean that the U.S. prisons don't suck and they would be able to prevent him from committing suicide. We kind of covered what Julian Assange might face, but this says a possible penalty of up to 175 years in jail.
Wow. Okay, so not death.
Right.
But death.
He faces an 18-count indictment accusing him of conspiring to hack into the U.S. military databases, acquiring sensitive secret information relating to Afghanistan and Iraq wars, which was then published on the WikiLeaks website.
Information, interestingly enough, about war crimes committed by U.S. officials. So if a normal person was doing this, that would be, what? Intimidating a witness, tampering with evidence.
Are you sure you haven't read this article? Because the very next sentence says, he says the information exposed abuses by the U.S. military.
But he didn't hack
it.
He just agreed to help Chelsea Manning get into it.
Well, and do we know that he actually assisted in the hacking?
I thought that he turned over some hash to somebody and got them to break a password or something.
I thought he was only responsible for the publishing of the information.
No, he was helping get into the files.
I see. 603-283-6160. More coming up.
So when we brought him home, we didn't realize that Bear, the rescue dog, was actually sick. He had very flaky skin. He was dropping a lot of fur, and Levette wanted to do steroid injections, special dog food. Nothing seemed to work, so I was at a dead end.
DINOVITE.com.
I've been hearing Dinovite on the radio for years. It never actually crossed my mind to try it until it finally sunk in. Oh, you're talking about hair and skin. And, all right, I'll try it. Well, it took probably 6 weeks, but after we started using Dinovite, no more flaky skin. He doesn't scratch and itch, and he started to put weight on.
Dinovite is nutrition.
I wish that we would have started the Dinovite right away. It would have been so much easier.
You won't believe how happy your dog will be.
Every rescue dog in America deserves Dinovite for 90 days.
DINOVITE.com.
Uncovering the secrets and exposing the lies. That's what the readers of freedomsphoenix.com get every day. freedomsphoenix.com, constantly providing the information, the real news about government policies, and the real relationship we all have with the coercive government. The real condition of the economy, innovations in technology, breakthroughs in energy, health, and computer science. Learn the truth well before it's admitted to in the lamestream media. The corporate media, nothing more than distributors of government propaganda, but now there's an alternative. freedomsphoenix.com. Constant news updates on the issues that affect your life in the most important ways. With liberty and property under constant attack, freedomsphoenix.com provides the understanding behind the propaganda, and it encourages the participation of its readers. Go to freedomsphoenix.com. That's freedoms with an S, phoenix.com. freedomsphoenix.com. The revolution between the ears has already happened.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. The LRN.FM's social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it. Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this, right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com.
Help get LRN.FM into more ears. Visit promote.lrn.fm for a free bumper sticker, flyers, banners, graphics, and more. Promote.lrn.fm.
Welcome back to the program, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. It is Free Talk Live, the Monday night edition. Our telephone number, if you'd like to join us, is 603-283-6160. Again, 603-283-6160. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the Reverend Captain Kickass. Joining me, it's...
I'm Ian.
And I'm nobody.
And Bitcoin.com is the best source for learning about cryptocurrency. You can go there now and click on Get Started at the top of the page. Once you do that, you'll find a cornucopia of information neatly organized by your needs. There's no longer an excuse for ignorance of this important world-changing information.
As a data processing professional, I can tell you there's no way to organize information neatly in a cornucopia.
That's a good point. If you are knowledgeable of crypto, you can check out news.bitcoin.com, where you can get the latest headlines of all the news that's relevant to you. Bitcoin.com is your source for buying cryptocurrency, getting a wallet app, mining, trading, and all the latest cryptocurrency news, all on a slick and easy-to-use website. Visit Bitcoin.com. Okay, so segueing from the Julian Assange thing, let's just say
we're going to take little scooters away from it.
That's right. All three of us were getting on those two-wheel things
to the next issue.
And ride them, from England to the next issue.
Okay, groovy.
That's
going to be an interesting segue. We should have a little video of that we play when we go from issue to issue of the three of us riding around on Segways.
And we could do the Beatles album cover where we're crossing Abbey Road.
We could do that, but then we'd have to go to England and they might arrest us and throw us in Belmarsh prison.
Maybe we get Assange to join us on a Segway. That'd be fun.
I'm sure he would be delighted to. It's his It's his captors who might have a problem.
Well, so let's assume for a moment that Mr. Assange is granted bail.
Mm-hmm.
And he's in England. So
that is where he is.
He gets out of this prison, and what happens? He walks right into another prison because, this from NBC News, faced with mounting cases, England announces new nationwide lockdown.
Yes, they have.
British Prime Minister Boris Johnson, I call him Boring Johnson, but whatever. Boring Johnson said trips outside will be allowed only for essential shopping, exercise, COVID-19, medical help, escaping domestic abuse.
Only COVID-19 medical health. If you're dying of cancer, you got to stay in the house and die.
and work for those who can't work from home, apparently. British Prime Minister Boring Johnson said Monday these lockdowns are going to go ahead and go forth, including the most stringent level of restrictions since the start of the pandemic.
Wow.
In order to slow down the spiral in new cases of COVID-19 on the same day the UK started the rollout of AstraZeneca's vaccine.
But almost 1 out of every 200 people who gets the disease dies.
I don't get why the UK is getting the AstraZeneca and like the US is getting the Pfizer.
AstraZeneca is a European company.
Okay, but like, I mean,
well, they pay the politicians off.
Oh,
each chemical company, each drug company is expected to pay off their own politicians.
It's, okay, it's a territory thing.
Yeah, it's territorial because that's how it works. Is each drug gang has a bunch of soldiers that guard their turf,
right,
against other gangs from other places.
I was just
thinking, you have to pay off your gang.
You know, because we're all about I'm all about choice here. Most of us, who have the freedom mindset anyway, welcome more choice. So it occurs to me that there might be somebody who's very vaccine-y that wants the vaccine, right? That wants to get it, wants to take
Somebody
it.
out there wants to collect the whole set.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, they want to get the little glass with the AstraZeneca, logo on it, or the one with the Pfizer logo.
Send me if he sends me his address. If you're listening, if you're that guy, send me your address. I'll send you mine.
But it occurs to me that somebody in the Pfizer territory might want the AstraZeneca vaccine, and somebody in the AstraZeneca territory might want the Pfizer vaccine for whatever reason.
Tough.
Yeah. All right. Well. The measures are similar to the lockdown imposed last March and include asking the public to stay home and leave.
Asking,
yeah.
Yeah.
That should be in quotes.
The news always uses that term. When it's talking about government mandates, it uses the term asking.
Which is funny because, if a normal person pulls out a gun and says, "I'll kill you if you don't do what you're told," they call it like kidnapping or something.
Well, it reminds me of the bouncers in the bars, right? Like if you start causing a ruckus and, you're being a drunken ass, the bouncers will come up to you and be like, "Sir, we're going to have to ask you to leave."
Mm-hmm. Well, you don't have to.
Well, they say they're going to have to. Gonna have to is one of my favorite phrases.
Gonna have to. Like, we're not asking you to leave now, but eventually we're required to. It's in our contract.
Trips outside will be allowed for only essential shopping, exercise, COVID-19 testing, medical help, escaping domestic abuse, and work for those who can't work from home.
Well, they're all being domestically abused if they're being locked up in their houses without committing a crime.
Yep. Amen to that. If you tuned into our episode last night, we covered the 15 indicators that you are in an abusive relationship with your government.
And how many of them did this government pass?
Oh, I mean, I think
15?
all 15 apply to just government, just as a deal of existence, right?
If it's not an abusive relationship, it's not a government, because by definition, I think a government takes its money by force.
Right. A government that exists equals an abusive relationship. This goes on to say primary, secondary schools and colleges will also have to switch to remote learning starting Tuesday. That's tomorrow. People who don't live together are not allowed to mix, but support and childcare bubbles are still allowed.
I'm so sick of the bubbles.
Bubbles. They're bubbles. I haven't even heard about the bubbles.
Well, that's because we're in New Hampshire, and we haven't really gotten a lot of this bubble propaganda from the government gang here.
Bubbleganda?
Yeah, it's going on in a lot of places, and it's all about restricting the number of people that you can associate with legally. In fact, there was a story.
Are you allowed to get some bubble butt?
I doubt it.
Not unless they're in your personal sphere. Do you remember some time ago, Singular Wireless had this thing where like you could have people in your circle?
Yes. Yep.
Right? That's the same thing as what they're describing of these bubbles, nobody.
There's
But
video.
what if you don't have a circle?
Well, then your bubble's really small.
I don't have a circle.
Sorry. You don't get to hang out with anybody.
I'm bubble free.
And many of these are very, very restrictive. Some places have put these in place for folks, and only their so-called bubble includes just their household. That's it.
Yeah.
And that's the end of it. There's a story from
and nobody's
Disclose.
shooting politicians over this?
You are?
I don't think violence is the answer, but Disclose.tv had a video here.
Well, I didn't say it was the answer. It just seems surprising that they're not.
Disclose.tv had video of Canadian police storming a gathering of 6 people after a neighbor ratted them out. There's video of this happening.
Wait. How many equals a storm? So there were 6 people who gathered. If they stormed the gathering, did they storm this gathering with more than 6 people?
I can't tell you how many.
It looked like
how many cops?
You couldn't really tell because most of them didn't make it into the residence,
Right,
but it looked like there was a confluence of swine outside that residence.
Yeah, I can see it. Looks like at least 4 cops outside literally trying to pull a man out the door.
And where was this?
This is in Canada, where they have these very strict bubbles that they are, forcing people to obey.
I mean, the first time I remember hearing about anything resembling a bubble was back in the mid to late 80s, maybe early 90s, where people started talking about their personal space bubble. Right?
Sure.
Like, I don't know. I've been around a guy. I actually had a conversation with a guy. He was in one of my bands, and he would violate your personal space bubble all the time. Turns out he just had bad eyes, and so he couldn't really tell how close he was to a guy. And so when I talked to him, he's like, "Oh, sorry, dude. I got bad eyes or whatever." And he actually went and had the surgery, and then it got better.
Oh, that's good. So he wasn't just using that as an excuse to cop a feel.
I didn't know. Well, no. I mean, he would get really close to your face and spit on you as he's talking, and all that kind of stuff. And people are like, "What's up with that guy?" So, 603-283-6160. More Free Talk Live on the way.
I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15 to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up at any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191. Are you a cryptocurrency advocate? The Crypto Tip is the ideal outreach tool to help new people discover cryptocurrency. It's a printable business card-sized tip that you can give to service providers, preferably in addition to a good cash tip. When the server scans the QR code, it'll bring up an explanation of cryptocurrency, how to install a wallet, and allow them to claim the tip. If they don't claim the crypto, you get your tip refunded to you after a time period you specify. Plus, if they do claim the tip, you get an email alert. Create as many tips as you want at cryptotip.org. That's cryptotip.org.
Some of our live shows are streamed in HD on Twitch. Please follow and share at twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
603-283-6160. That is the phone number for this radio program, Free Talk Live, the live call-in radio talk show program where you can take control of the airwaves, talk about anything that's on your mind. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the captain.
It's Ian.
And nobody.
Something funny, Ian?
No. Well, yes. I was just watching a video of a man.
I thought I detected a giggle.
Yeah, you did. I watched a video of a man being arrested for hugging, which is not funny. But that actually did happen in the UK, which is what we've been talking about here, discussing Julian Assange maybe being released here pretty soon. If all
They've
goes
completely reversed themselves on the whole hugs not drugs thing. It's like they're legalizing drugs and outlawing hugs.
Yes, they are, apparently.
Well, I want to hear more about this guy getting arrested for being hugged, but you've heard us talk about Divvy here on Free Talk Live, and maybe you've wanted to set up
schedule
one of their easy-to-deploy masternodes or stake Divvy so that you can begin earning Divvy right now. Ian over here says setting up a Divvy masternode was super easy and staking was even easier. Now, we're not investment advisors here on Free Talk Live, but we do think that you will be impressed with your earning potential with Divvy as compared to the traditional investment vehicles. Go to divvyproject.org and get started. You can buy Divvy at several exchanges or directly from the Divvy team. If you need help, there's a link to their Telegram channel right on the front page at divvyproject.org. That's DIVI project.org. So somebody needed a hug and the guy got arrested?
Multiple people were receiving hugs. It appeared to be happening at Speaker's Corner in London, where a man...
was this like a Biden thing where he was like hugging little kids who didn't want to be hugged?
Nope, not at all.
I thought Biden sniffed kids.
He sniffs them, hugs them, touches them, grabs their boobies.
He does all
or
kinds
their
of things.
lack of boobies.
No, this was these were adults who were consenting to being hugged. The man was a serial hugger. He did give multiple hugs out to consenting parties, and then police swooped in and put him under arrest.
We'll have none of that.
Yep, they said, you're not, sir. You're not. These are not people you know. They're not in your bubble.
They're in this bubble now.
Your bubble's been bursted.
Yeah. So I don't know what the charges are.
They burst his bubble.
I presume it's the equivalent of, breaking governor's orders, whatever they would charge you with here in the U.S., but that's what's happened.
You violated the king. The king said no, and you went ahead and did the thing that the king said no. Now you will go into the cage.
It's bad. Very bad.
Wow.
All right. That's happening. It really happened.
Yeah. We live in the world is really bizarre. In some ways, I feel like when I moved to New Hampshire, I passed through, into a different dimension. The world was a certain way, and then shortly after I got here comes the COVID, and all of a sudden we're in this dystopian medical hellscape nightmare. But going on with this article from NBC News, talking about the new and improved lockdown being imposed on the entirety of England. That's right. National lockdown extreme. Because,
this is what happens when you don't have any guns and you can't fight back.
Well, and even the police in England don't carry guns, so they
do
like,
now.
Oh, do they?
Yes. It's really interesting, but after they outlawed guns there for the citizens, crime started getting worse and worse and worse,
and
figure. The cops had to start carrying.
I thought they were running around yelling, "Halt," or I'll yell, "Halt" again.
Well, they did, but back in the day, they would actually, if they had to make an arrest of somebody who was dangerous, they had to gather up like a little posse of armed Brits, and of course, they couldn't find any.
Yeah. Well, speaking in a late-night televised address, Boring Johnson, that's Boris Johnson for the rest of you, warned that the weeks ahead will be the hardest yet. But he believes the country is entering the last phase of the struggle, as they've said every 2 weeks since March.
Does that mean they're going to stop resisting and just die?
Right.
Yeah, or they just start killing people. Yep, it's over now.
Yep.
We've shot everybody.
Well, I mean, that's the end game. I don't see how this is going to end in anything but a massacre.
I feel your frustration. He goes on to say, I know how tough this is, and I know how frustrated you are, but now, more than
how
ever,
does he know
we
that?
must
Because
pull
he's not
together.
subject to any of this stuff.
Yeah. But now more than ever, he says we must pull together.
Yeah. Oh, well, why don't we lock you up for a while and see how you feel about pulling together after that?
I'm all for that. I'd like to see any of these politicians be deemed non-essential, because that is exactly what they are.
Hoist with their own petard, as it were.
Johnson,
to be British.
Indeed. Boring Johnson said people should follow the new rules, which will become law in the early hours of Wednesday morning, starting immediately. That makes no sense. So they're going to institute this thing on Tuesday. The new rules are going to become law in the early hours of Wednesday, but yet it starts immediately.
It's government. I mean, is it supposed to make sense?
No, it isn't. The measures announced apply only to England, where Johnson sets policy, with Scotland, Northern Ireland, and Wales, the other 3 countries in the UK, setting their own rules.
Yeah, I mean, they can't make it make sense, is the thing. Because if they did that, then people would know that they were having their lives taken from them, and they would have only one rational reaction, which is to fight for their lives.
Yeah. Early on Monday, Scotland announced a full legally enforced lockdown with people ordered to stay at home for January except for essential purposes. It's no exaggeration to say that I am more concerned about the situation that we face now than I have been at any time since March, Scottish First Minister Nicola Sturgeon said.
What a coincidence.
So what you're saying is none of your government mandates, lockdowns, or any of that actually had any kind of effect to the point where they're now having to do.
We must lock down harder.
It had an effect. They didn't get second waves in places where they didn't do lockdowns.
All right.
Yet nothing the governments have done has had any effect.
No,
that they
none of
claim.
it has had any positive effect.
Thank you.
It's all had effects.
You are correct.
They're not ineffective. They're just evil.
It's the same thing as when you're going to public schools and they tell you that the government's there to protect you and the government is there to help you. And then it turns out, nope, none of those things are true. And so when it comes to these lockdowns.
Isn't it funny that it turns out that all those teachers worked for the government?
And now as far as these lockdowns and masks and all this stuff are concerned, they go, oh, this is to help you and this is to stop the spread and this is to contain the spread of cases. And none of it has had any positive effect.
Well, they just need to do it twice as hard.
So now we must lock down harder. Lockdown 3, lockdown hardest, even more hard than we locked down before. Extreme lockdown.
We did lockdowns before and more people died, but this time we're going to lock down even harder, and it will somehow have the opposite effect.
In 3D.
Son of lockdown.
In stereo, where available.
What do they call it when all the old people who were in the original lockdowns get like a resurgence at the end of their career? You know what I mean? Like they had the movie with like Stallone and Van Damme and, you know, the something that was called
I don't
something.
know.
Oh,
The
it
Expendables.
was like the Furious Five? Or?
No, it was the Expendables is what it was. So they'll have the Expendable lockdown, and they'll get all the old people like, I remember when the first lockdown kicked in, and we were still able to go to the drive-thru.
Well, the thing is, I mean, if you're not a member of the club, you're expendable already.
That's true.
Yep. By the way, it's also getting worse in other places, including San Francisco.
Yeah? Tell us more.
Just when you thought San Francisco couldn't get worse.
Oh, yeah. There's a so-called stay-at-home order, which was supposed to be lifted as of January 7th, has now been extended indefinitely.
So. Wait, I'm sorry. Say that again?
The stay-at-home order was supposed to expire this week on Thursday. It is now extended indefinitely. Now there is no date of expiration for the so-called stay-at-home order.
I said this when these lockdowns first frickin' started, that it wasn't going to end.
Mm-hmm.
I said they're just going to keep. We saw it before with the TSA and the Non-Patriotic Act, also known as the Patriot Act.
Yep.
Where at first it was, well, we're going to have this thing for a couple of weeks. Then it was a couple of months.
Mm-hmm.
Then it was, okay, we're going to extend it for 6 months. No, we're going to extend it for another year. And then suddenly and finally, they just said, no, we're going to just have this thing in perpetuity.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. Oh, and when they're done with this, they want to do it again for global warming.
Yeah, no, we talked about that last week. I think I brought that one up where they've introduced the idea that somehow lockdowns and masking can assist with global warming. I don't know.
I think that maybe what's needed, maybe the sun's burning too hot and we need to make some sacrifices. Maybe we should throw some politicians into volcanoes.
Ooh.
See if that helps.
I mean, if we could build a catapult to launch them into the sun.
That would be good.
I could, maybe get on board with a little GoFundMe for that particular adventure. 603-283-6160. Hour number 2, coming soon.
Are you about to meet the media? If you're about to be interviewed, do their homework for them. Know this about the person who will interview you. He or she is busy, so expect minimal, if any, preparation. He or she doesn't know as much about your topic as you do. He or she isn't as concerned as you are about getting your message out, so you need to take responsibility. Provide a biography and fact sheet, photographs, or other materials that tell your story. Reporters won't be put off if you supply frequently asked questions. Remember, Public Speaking 101, at the end of the speech, what's the one thing you want them to remember? You can download the document I supply to reporters who interview me and squirm through a video that demonstrates how not to conduct your media interview at www.survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
Want to accept Bitcoin at your online store? There's a good chance you already have what you need: a WordPress using WooCommerce and a Bitcoin address. Now all you need to start taking Bitcoin payments on your website is the AnyPay app on your Android or iPhone. Just paste your Bitcoin address into AnyPay, then connect it to your website with our one-click plugin for WordPress. Now your website takes Bitcoin, start to finish in 15 minutes or less with no complicated steps. Download AnyPay from the App Store today.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Introducing the congressional class of 2021, I'm Steve Rappaport, Fox News. The 117th Congress convenes today. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is expected to keep the gavel.
Usually it's a party line vote, but always there's some deviations. You might have people voting present, and this is why Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats have indicated it is so important that they vote for her so that they maintain the majority. And you can't beat somebody with nobody. You know, we've had votes cast over the years for Colin Powell, John Lewis, the late congressman from Georgia.
Fox's Chad Pergram. Over in the Senate, at least a dozen Republicans plan to object to certifying the Electoral College results on Wednesday. Senator Ted Cruz on Fox's Sunday Morning Futures.
We've seen in the last 2 months unprecedented allegations of voter fraud. And that's produced a deep, deep distrust of our democratic process across the country. I think we in Congress have an obligation to do something about that. We have an obligation to protect the integrity of the democratic system.
Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell had urged Republicans not to join House Republicans in these certification challenges. He's publicly acknowledged President-elect Joe Biden is the winner of the race.
Fox's Mark Meredith in Washington. Thousands of President Trump's supporters plan to protest in the nation's capital that day. The balance of power in the Senate remains up for grabs because of a pair of runoff races in Georgia.
In the first runoff race, you have incumbent Republican Kelly Loeffler facing Democrat Reverend Raphael Warnock. In the other race, incumbent David Perdue facing challenger John Ossoff, who says if you send him to Washington, he'll deliver on those $2,000 checks. Now, early voting shows Republicans will need a strong turnout north of here in Atlanta, and that's why President Trump tweeting he's heading down here tomorrow at 9 p.m., rallying in Dalton.
Fox's Griff Jenkins. If Democrats win both races, the chamber would be split 50-50, with Vice President-elect Kamala Harris casting the tie-breaking vote. America is listening to Fox News.
Why are you still going to the post office? Do it all online with Stamps.com. Avoid trips to the post office, print postage, send invoices, letters, or packages, and schedule pickups right from your home or office. 24/7. Get close to 10% off first-class stamps, up to 40% off priority mail, and up to 62% off UPS shipping rates. Go to Stamps.com, click on the microphone, and enter code FOX for a 4-week trial plus free postage and a digital scale. Stamps.com, code FOX.
Tens of thousands of Iraqis gathering in Baghdad to mark 1 year since the killing of a top Iranian general in a U.S. drone strike. Iran responded to the death of Qasem Soleimani by launching a barrage of missiles at bases in Iraq. More than 100 U.S. troops suffered traumatic brain injuries in those attacks. So far, COVID-19 vaccination targets for the American people have fallen well short of promises.
Dr. Monsef Slaoui, top advisor for U.S. vaccine development, says there must be a better effort in getting vaccines to people. He feels the inoculation rate will rise, but said on CBS Face the Nation they need help from states to determine where doses should go, whether it's health facilities or drugstore chains.
That has to be done with people that have granular knowledge of their population, their movements, where the older people are.
Dr. Slaoui says not only will getting past the holiday season help numbers, but there is the promise of yet another vaccine approval that could come in a matter of weeks. Gernal Scott, Fox News.
NBA Hall of Famer Paul Westphal has died. Westphal won a championship with the Boston Celtics in 1974 and moved to coaching after his playing career ended. The 70-year-old was diagnosed with brain cancer last August. The star of Wonder Woman 1984 announces a new series documenting accomplishments of women.
Gal Gadot took to Instagram to announce a brand new National Geographic docuseries that focuses on women across the globe. It's titled Impact.
It's a powerful docuseries that tells the story of
Free Talk Live.
A GoPro camera that's cost $300 is better than a Taser-made camera.
Yeah, so there are other competitors in the marketplace, and they weren't given a chance to even bid on that. I mean, that's good old boy cronyism, isn't it? You support that?
Are you opposed to free enterprise?
I am for free enterprise. I am against no-bid contracts. You see, free marketplaces have competition so that we find out if products are superior or not. In an area where you have no-bid contracts, you'll never find out what's better. You said that there was no coercion here.
Making the purchase can make that decision for themselves.
No, they cannot, because they're taking my tax money at the threat of my home. You said there was no coercion, and I will remind you that they will kick me and my family out on the street if I don't pay property taxes. To suggest that this money belongs to the police chief is just the kind of boot-licking that takes this country into fascism.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
They started with Google Glass, and now the engineers behind Google have created a new body part to strap gadgets onto. They're calling it the flange, and the new synthetic skin appendage fits between the shoulder blades into a flat surface capable of holding a wide array of new gadgets for Google to hawk to consumers. While unveiling the innovation today, Google CEO Larry Page said, quote, "The possibilities for the number of completely pointless gadgets to strap, bind, and stick to your body are now endless." Early adopters are already raving about the synthetic body part.
It overheats and burns my skin pretty bad when I have it on, but I'm really getting to like it.
I'm actually thinking of getting a second one installed.
Critics are cautioning the tech world to not hail the flange as an achievement yet, since several users have reported problems with the device permanently grafting to their spinal column if worn overnight. Coming up next, Doritos unveils new e-Doritos that come in JPEG form whenever you're hungry.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
Yes, hello. What have we got here? Oh, I don't know. It sounds like some sort of a radio talk show program.
Go on, Governor.
If only there were a phone number with which folks could dial it. Folks. Do they say folks in England?
You mean the telly?
You're bloody well right.
The telly is 603-28... I'm getting Australian now.
I don't know if they call it telephone, the telly, or the television, or the telly, but you do have to have a permit to have a TV there.
You do. You have to have a license, and they have vans.
They say it's a license, but it's just you've paid the fee.
That's the same thing.
Yeah,
as a license.
Yeah, that's what a license is. When they take away your ability to do something, sell it back to you for a price. But they do have men in vans going around with these devices that can point at and hear through walls or whatever, and otherwise detect whether or not you are watching licensed TV or unlicensed television, which is really strange. Can you imagine being that guy?
And it's been that way for decades.
Yeah.
There, right?
Can you imagine being that guy? Your job?
Well, just like the cable company here can tell if you're paying your bill. The thing is, the government is the cable company.
Well, the government is all of television.
Yes.
You can't watch television without their permission, which is really scary.
Well, not just permission, but they provide it.
Mm-hmm.
So this is Free Talk Live. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the captain.
It's Ian.
And nobody.
And you can call 603-283-6160 if you'd like to join us. We've been traveling internationally on the show so far tonight. We've been talking about England so far. We talked a little bit about the rest of the UK, including Scotland and Ireland. But we're going to move on to China. And hey, nobody, you might know the answer to this one. How come there weren't any lockdowns and mask mandates in China?
There were. They welded people into their buildings.
Okay, but this is a joke. So what's the punchline to the joke?
Well,
after they welded people into the buildings, how come there were no mask mandates and lockdowns in China? Because they're already a communist country.
Okay, cute.
China seems, or at least itself, is claiming success, that it has somehow defeated COVID-19.
Well, I mean, they more or less did, actually, because at some point months ago, the government pretty much announced, we're not going to worry about this anymore, and just stopped caring.
Yeah.
And they defeated it, because then it was just like the flu. You might get sick, you might get not, you might not, but either way, life would go on.
And if you are listening to this program and you've paid attention to the numbers, you might also be asking yourself, in the United States anyway, what happened to the flu and the common cold? The CDC numbers don't exist.
Oh, people don't get that anymore.
They don't exist. Apparently, COVID-19 is the cure for the common cold and also the common flu. Anyway, this is from Jordan Schachtel, Substack.com. It's an editorial bit. And it says, China's COVID-19 success is a mirage that continues to deceive the West. Wuhan residents packed city streets to bring in 2021. Now, you may not have seen this, but there was a nice photo floating around on the social media. The top of the photo was, of course, China on New Year's Eve with packed streets in the downtown areas of all, like a big city.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, the bottom photo was Times Square, where there was nothing, empty.
Except for the mayor and
his wife
dancing.
Taking their, hypocritical dance moves. Social media was set ablaze last night with shocked and perplexed reactions to New Year's celebrations media coming out of Wuhan, China, which showed packed streets and citizens bringing in 2021 in an almost pre-corona fashion unparalleled in virtually the entirety of the Western world. The Wuhan celebrations were presented as a great source of national pride for China, who are projecting to the world that they alone have succeeded in conquering a virus that no one else has been able to get under control.
Just hilarious. By not worrying about it.
This is so hilarious. As the COVID-19 case count continues to rack up across the West, China claims that its pandemic problem has been solved for many months. And then there's a bit of a video here that actually shows, you can see thousands of people gathering. Many were baffled to see China's unprecedented images and videos showcasing supposed success in dealing with the virus, all without even having the need for a COVID-19 vaccine. Some were downright envious that the Chinese citizens were able to bring in the new year freely and openly, hoping that one day it could be them too.
It can just stop falling for government nonsense.
It's true. That's all it's going to take is for people to stop going along to get along, but they don't seem to be interested in doing that.
At some
I
point,
cured a Branch Covidian today.
You did?
You should tell the story.
You cured?
I'll tell the story later.
Well,
why don't you do it now?
How about tell it now? You brought it up.
Okay, I'll do it now. So I'm in.
Wait, I just want to make sure this isn't a joke. Like, how do you cure a Branch Covidian?
What is a Branch Covidian?
A Branch Covidian is a member of the Covidian cult, the cult that believes that the branch that the COVID is the end of the world and that we're all gonna die of it. Are
you sure you cured a Branch Covidian, or did you just cure somebody who was going along to get along?
Well, it's my story. I'm going to tell it the way I want to.
All right.
Okay. Continue.
So anyway, I'm in the gas station and I'm doing what I usually do, which is I always ask the cashier, how many people do you know that are sick? And they always say the same thing, just about, which is nobody.
I've seen you do this, and you are very good at doing so.
And I say, doesn't that seem strange to you, or something like that? This time I said, strangest pandemic ever. Usually people get sick when they have them. Mm-hmm. And I turn around just in time to see this guy in line behind me whip off his mask and say something I couldn't say on the radio, this thing. And I was like, oh my God. I gave him his face back.
Nice.
He didn't have a face, and now he does.
That's pretty cool.
Some people will steal your face right off your head. I'll put it back.
So the Socratic method was deployed, where you merely asked a series of questions.
Yeah, a very short series of one question.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's all it took.
I guess you said strangest pandemic ever instead of doesn't that seem strange? That would have been a second question.
Yeah. Well, yes, this time I did. Although that is a common one with me also is, doesn't that seem strange to you?
Yeah.
8 months into the worst pandemic ever.
So now, did this particular person whom you've claimed to have cured of his Branch Covidianism, did he say anything to you that, like, I'm never wearing one of these frickin' things again?
He did not. He merely whipped it off.
Okay.
And didn't he? And he said, "F this mask" or something.
He did, but I can't say that on the radio.
Right. Okay. All right.
Well, you can say
because
F.
We've got an unconstitutional organization called the FCC that doesn't permit that sort of thing.
I have a made up acronym for them that I also can't say on the radio.
I can say my acronym for the TSA.
Yeah, I'm going to say
thousands
that,
standing around.
Given your definition of Branch Covidian, I'm going to say this was not a Branch Covidian. I don't think that if this person was truly a believer in COVID and was truly afraid of COVID, he would not have whipped his mask off and said, F this thing. You just simply gave a go-along to get-along person the permission to go along with you.
It could be, but it could also be, I mean, when you think about it, for every person who's left a cult, there was the moment that it happened.
That's true.
That's
true.
maybe they'd been straining at the edges of the cult for a while.
Could be.
Maybe they'd been questioning, but eventually the moment came when they whipped off their mask and everyone saw their face.
Well, and what I like about...
And they were in color.
What I like about things like this, nobody, when you do things like this and somebody does whip off their mask because they're like, F this.
I'm so glad it's not their pants.
Well, yeah, of course. But what I like about you doing things like that is that there's going to be other people who see that. And he's going to tell the story of how he did that to somebody else. Right? And that's important because it's important for other people to see it so they too can begin to realize it's okay to stand up for yourself.
Yeah. And that's the thing. We got to be bold, but also be nice.
603-283-6160. Will you whip off your mask? More Free Talk Live on the way.
Freedom! Freedom is the call of the untamed Scotsman and all others that want to feel the wind under their kilts.
At Free Talk Live, we love the breezy, swinging feeling that only a kilt from Sport Kilt can give.
We teamed up with Sport Kilt to let you experience their form of freedom at a discount. Go to kilts.freetalklive.com and see a picture of Richie and me in our kilts.
And then head over to sportkilt.com. Get some stylish freedom for yourself and use code FTL for a 10% discount. Sportkilt.com.
What if the United States and the Soviet Union had fought on land, sea, air, and the astral plane, struggled for dominion across parallel dimensions or on the surface of the moon? What wonders would have been unveiled? What terrors would have haunted mankind from those dark and dismal dimensions? Come closer, peer through a glass darkly, and discover the horrifying alternative visions of World War III from some of today's greatest minds in science fiction, fantasy, and horror. Weird World War III. Available now from Baen Books at baenbooks.com.
Are you tired of governments around the world killing innocent people? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin is money that cannot be inflated or controlled by any state. By continuing to use their money, you're perpetuating the killing. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available to you now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. It's bitcoin.com. Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to DivvyProject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from DivvyProject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. DivvyProject.org. DIVI Project.org.
Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm. Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get 1 free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
My name is Jacob Hornberger. I'm president of the Future of Freedom Foundation, which Congressman Ron Paul awarded for having an outstanding freedom website. Write us at fff@fff.org, and we'll send you a free 3-month subscription to our monthly journal of libertarian essays and our booklet, Economic Liberty in the Constitution, which George Mason University economics professor Walter Williams praised in a recent column. That's fff@fff.org.
Love what we do? Please help support our international satellite channels at patreon.lrn.fm. That's patreon.lrn.fm.
Welcome back to the program. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Thanks.
Not nobody, everybody.
Oh.
Did you forget who you were for a minute?
I thought you were welcoming me back.
I was welcoming everybody back, not nobody.
What, I'm not included in everybody?
Nobody is not included in everybody.
I guess not.
It's tough to be nobody.
It is.
It's a hard thing to be.
Indeed. This is Free Talk
Live. It's
Live.
not easy being green either.
You've been talking to Kermit again?
I love Kermit.
Hey, Kermit. Our telephone number here is 603-283-6160, and we'll get to your calls and thoughts momentarily. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the captain.
Yeah, it's Ian.
And nobody.
And let's just go ahead right away to your calls and thoughts. We have Joe calling from Michigan, listening on the internet. Joe, you're on Free Talk Live.
Yeah, first of all, I don't believe anything coming out of China, but I will say, they got like, what, 1 billion people, maybe a little over 1 billion now. If COVID was as deadly as our news media is saying it is, they should have bodies stacked up like firewood, man. It should just be, they couldn't even drive down the street without, just dead bodies laying everywhere.
Agreed.
I've never seen anything like it. Just ignore what you see with your eyes and listen to us because we're the experts.
It's a testament to how brainwashed everybody in the United States has been, and I blame public schooling.
Well, and I just think we got a lot of gullible. Fauci, he said masks don't work, and then he said they do. It's like.
And then he said he lied.
Not paying attention?
Yeah. No, they're not. No. People who listen to the show might be paying attention, but outside of that, the general populace, no, not paying attention at all. They are just taking what they're fed by the television and running with it.
I went to a little record store the other day, and like one of the little used record shops, they sell used CDs and all that stuff.
Yep.
And, I go there a lot, so I complied and wore a mask. But right next door, literally, they share the same parking lot as a restaurant that's going out of business because of the lockdowns.
Yep.
Who decides what businesses get to stay open?
The
The
government.
politicians.
Yeah.
You got to know who to pay and how much.
In a real...
Factories are still running. Walmart's still making money.
Oh, yeah.
But your local bar has to shut down.
The big businesses, they're going to keep going.
I mentioned this on yesterday's program. The real answer to your question is customers. Customers decide if your business is essential or not. If your business attracts customers, congratulations, you are essential.
Customers don't make the decision. Not anymore. Government does.
It's insanity, man. It's insanity. And, I don't care if you're religious or not, like telling people you can't go to your synagogue or your church or whatever, that's a violation of the First Amendment. All this
stuff.
Most of this stuff is our Fourth Amendment, our First Amendment.
Yeah.
They don't care. People, it's like if you give people free money and free food and they got a roof over their head, they'll hand over their rights.
Well, Joe, you yourself said that you put on a mask to go into this place that you went to.
Yeah, I didn't want to, but
why'd you do it?
I go there a lot. I like the guys in there, and I just.
So that means, well, hold on. I thought you said you like the guys in there, so you're going to show how obedient you are to show them that you like them. How does that show them anything about you liking them?
Well, yeah, you got me. It's a little hypocritical, but
Do you think those guys are going to give you a hard time?
As much as possible.
If you don't go
I'll
in,
say that.
if you don't go in wearing a mask, do you feel like those guys are going to give you a tough time?
Joe?
They'd probably just ask me to leave.
Really?
And I will say this.
They'd ask a regular customer to leave? You think
I understand the position that these small businesses are in because they got everything on the line, and the state literally will pull their licenses from them, and they don't have the big lobbies that Walmart has. And
where are you calling from?
He's in Michigan.
So there's no medical. There's no medical exemption.
Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Is there any kind of medical exemption there in Michigan?
I don't know.
You don't know?
Never had it. I've never asked about it, really.
You should do yourself a favor and read the mask mandate that applies in your state.
I wouldn't even bother reading it. I would just say I'm medically exempt, and then they won't do anything to you in most cases. If they do then kick you out, I would be surprised. I think that's very rare that will happen.
And, you can always relent.
I've been kicked out of a few places, or asked to leave and harassed to put on a mask out of a couple places. But, and it's that was probably a bad example, I guess,
The only place of business where I've put one on was a bank. And I mean, there was a lot of money involved. But the thing that I won't ever do is like walk in with a mask on. I'm going to walk in without a mask on. I'm going to make them say, you have to put a mask on. And then I'm going to tell them why it's nonsense for the entire time that I'm there.
And how many times does that actually happen, except for the bank?
The bank is the only place.
Right.
Oh, no, that's not true. When I first came back from Michigan, a doctor's office.
Okay.
I went to the doctor's office, and they... I wasn't even thinking about the mask as anything, but it's a doctor's office. So
I figured
about things at that point.
I figured at a doctor's office, okay, it's a doctor's office, whatever. But even then, I didn't walk in with a mask on. I was at a dentist's office, and they didn't say anything to me.
Well, I definitely didn't walk into the doctor's office with a mask on. This was before anybody had masks.
Hey, Joe, I have a question for you. Are you getting the vaccine?
No, I'm not going to get the vaccine. I'm not an anti-vaxxer, but I'm going to wait, I guess. I mean, like I said, I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I don't want to be forced to do anything. If my employer tries to force me to do it, I won't do it, even if I guess it would cost me my job, I guess. But
see, I'm not necessarily an anti-vaxxer, but I'm definitely opposed to being an experimental subject. And they just invented this vaccine last week.
I'm opposed to getting a vaccine for something that I have a 99.98% chance of defeating if I actually do happen to come down with the thing. So, I mean, that to me, to get a vaccine on something like that is insane. It's insane.
I mean, it's the majority of people who've died from this have been elderly, or they've had something else that was basically some other serious condition, and it's just absurd what's going on. And it's insane, man. This is like some weird movie we're living in.
Yep.
Oh, it sure is. And thanks for the call tonight, Joe.
Appreciate it.
We do appreciate it. Hopefully you have more of an experience where you don't wear the mask and show it off to other people in hopes to also spark them to not wear their mask, because we need more people showing it off so that other people can be inspired. 603-283-6160 is our number. More Free Talk Live is coming your way.
July 25th, we adopted April. She's a purebred, orange and white Brittany. But when she started scratching like crazy, I said to John, it's got to be her food. What you put into a dog is what you get out. We heard this radio commercial, and this woman was so excited about Dinovite, DINOVITE.com. I said to John, I'm getting this. So the Dinovite comes, and I thought, a light bulb moment. She loves her dog food. She always leaves a little bit in her bowl. So we added a huge scoop of Dynavite in it, and then we swished it around like gravy. She dove into that bowl. She licked it clean. She loved it. So that's been the routine. April gets Dynavite for dessert. Her coat is now soft. It's silky. Dynavite is nutrition. She even walks like a little princess.
You won't believe how happy your dog will be.
On Dynavite, she's Little Miss Hollywood. DINOVITE.com.
Hi, I'm Derek J. I don't want a politician to represent me. To me, government is the idea that one group of people can coerce everyone to comply with an edict or face increasing punishments up to and including death. Despite perhaps the most noble of intentions, the best government services are a far cry from what could be provided for by voluntary interactions. Besides, the people who call themselves the government wage wars and put peaceful people in jail for crimes involving no victims. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American empire? The empire does not require my consent.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. That's victimlesscrimespree.com. Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. local.bitcoin.com. So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM. On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com.
Now you can follow LRN.FM on the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm.
It is Free Talk Live. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to, well, the radio talk show from the perspective of freedom. That's what I like to think of it as. Our toll-free, our telephone number.
Drat.
I know, I was doing
Is
so
it
well.
from the perspective of freedom, or is it from the perspective of not being free and wishing we were?
Well, I think your description is probably more accurate than mine. But our telephone number here is 603-283-6160. We've got a couple folks about to speak to us, so we'll get to them in just a moment. In the studio tonight, it is me, the Reverend Captain Kickass, and joining me it's
Ian.
And nobody.
And let's just go ahead right away to the telephones, to your calls and thoughts. We have Hio Silver calling from Oklahoma.
Hey.
Hi, Silver, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, how's it all doing?
Good. What's on your mind?
Well, let's see. I've been working on a few projects lately, and you still there?
Right here.
Yep.
Okay. I'm messing with my phone.
We'll be here for hours.
Yeah. I've been focusing on activism, instead of all this bullshit.
Oh, well, that's it for you.
Activism,
LRN. Dot. LRN. Dot.
That's not how you do that.
Is it the main? All right, we had a little snafu there. Hi, Silver. You can't say those bad words.
It's not the words that are bad. It's the FCC.
Yeah. So, sadly, we will just go to the next
He's been
call.
talking about calling us for weeks, too. That's funny. I'm going to give him a hard time next time I talk.
Yeah, hi, Silver. Sadly, we can't allow cussing on the air, so we had to let you go. But we do have Steve calling from Arkansas. Steve, you're on Free Talk Live. Sorry, Steve, I had you muted. Steve, you're on Free Talk Live.
Yeah, how you doing?
There you are. We're good. What's on your mind tonight?
I'd like to apologize for my neighbor from Oklahoma there. I won't be saying those words.
Please try not to, please.
So I attended a funeral today of a 72-year-old gentleman who was a 32-year Army vet. A buddy of mine, it was his father. And, of course, he died of COVID, and I'm using air quotes.
Interesting.
He was sick for about a month and developed pneumonia. Went to the doctor, tested negative for COVID. So they gave him some medication, sent him home. Went back to the doctor a few days later, tested negative for COVID. They put him in the hospital, and where did they put him? They put him in the COVID wing of the hospital.
Wait.
So he ended up testing positive for COVID a week later, go figure, and passed away a week later.
Well, if you want everybody who dies to die of COVID, then taking all the sick people and forcibly exposing them to COVID may help.
Yeah.
That is...
Yeah, it sounds a little bit like what they did in New York in the beginning, right? They put all the elderly folks together and let it spread through them like wildfire. And,
well, they actually shipped the folks with COVID into the elderly homes.
Yeah, they forced the nursing homes to take in COVID patients, and the doctors were like, "This is crazy," because even a doctor can recognize that's crazy.
Yeah. We have these regulations that they were supposed to end on the 3rd of this month. And now they've been extended another month where bars and restaurants with a liquor license have to close at 11 o'clock.
Does the COVID not like to go out at night? Is it like having trouble driving when it gets dark?
It's just ridiculous. I mean, if you're a restaurant that doesn't sell alcohol, then you can stay open later.
That doesn't make any sense.
But if you're a restaurant that's got alcohol, you have to close at 11 o'clock.
Because apparently COVID is not only a lightweight, but also an I that can't handle its booze after 11.
Well, most viruses can't handle booze. That's why
I reckon.
Yeah, I reckon as well.
It's just insane that we have, and we have, of course, these mask mandates. And now I go to a place here. The lady that owns the place, her and her husband are good folks. They're just trying to make a living. They have a restaurant here and a bar.
Yep.
And I wear a mask when I go into her bar because I don't want her to get a ticket or get her license taken away because I'm there without a mask. Now, it's weird because all you got to do is walk in with your mask. As soon as you have your drink, you can take it off.
That's so
COVID
ridiculous.
knows once you have a drink, you're off limits.
Right, yeah. If you got a beer in hand, apparently the natural carbonation of the beer keeps the COVID away.
Exactly.
Well, viruses and bacteria and microorganisms in general really can't handle their alcohol.
That's what I said. COVID's a lightweight, but also an alcoholic.
But anyway, I just wanted, that, and that's just here in little old Arkansas. I can imagine in the bigger cities and and things like that, that it's even worse. But the fact that, we're getting 3,000 to 4,000 cases a day reported and 30 to 50 deaths reported, but there's only been like 15 people in Arkansas die from the flu this year. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's so weird. I appreciate the call today, Steve. Steve was listening to us on 96.7. That is so weird that they took him to the hospital and put him in the COVID ward thing. I don't like that at all. I assume there's nothing a guy can really do about that, like from a legal perspective.
You could not go to the hospital.
Yeah, fight back.
Yeah, I guess.
Refuse to go. If they try to take you against your will, fight back.
It just seems bizarre that somebody would, get a little bit sick and then go to the hospital and then be sent to the COVID ward and then be diagnosed with it a week later.
I won't go near doctors until this thing is over.
Well, and, we've seen with, like, the Great Barrington Declaration where, thousands, tens, hundreds, 40,000 or so medical professionals.
They weren't all medical professionals.
Well, no, the whole thing has been signed by over 100,000, but 40,000 of them were.
Really?
Yeah,
okay.
40,000 of them, I believe that's the number. I could be mistaken. It could be 50 or 30. I'm not sure.
Each and every one of them was a bad mother in his own right.
But, there's plenty of evidence that doctors themselves disagree with how to handle the COVID and the lockdowns. I say, take back your businesses. I say take back your lives. I say start operating as if you are a February of 2020 human being again immediately. Because this madness is not going to end. They're already talking about using these lockdown measures for other purposes, including battling climate change, a.k.a. global warming, whatever you want to call it. And how does that make any sense? How do you leap from one to the other? It doesn't make any sense to me. If it makes sense to you, that means you are probably very, very brainwashed.
Yeah. If there is no struggle, there is no progress.
Yeah,
is the way it is. So what I say is be polite, be kind, and if they put their hands on you, put them in the cemetery.
Well, and just to circle back to the previous caller who mentioned that if this were a pandemic,
they'd have to be trying to stop people from panicking instead of trying to make them panic.
Bodies in the streets, maybe that's a little extreme, but certainly most people would know directly a person within their, quote, bubble, unquote, who had it and died from it. But that is not the case.
Without being, sabotaged into it by the government sticking them in a COVID ward when they're already old and sick.
And just to wrap up this article, China's response in Wuhan was pure pseudoscience. It didn't actually work. China did not eliminate the virus. The data about lockdowns in over 100
countries don't eliminate
countries
any virus.
Shows that they do not work to eliminate a respiratory virus. Same goes for every other non-pharmaceutical intervention. More Free Talk Live is coming up.
I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15 to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm.
Is oral health important to you? If you don't like your own teeth, fresh breath, or kissing people, then by all means stop listening. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I became passionate about the product that she created and never want to live without it. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, but I find it does much more. They want you to love My Magic Mud as much as I do, so they're giving you a money-back guarantee plus 20% off. Go to mymagicmud.com and use coupon code FTL20 at checkout. mymagicmud.com, FTL20.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com. The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com. The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at LRN.FM.
Yes, it's Free Talk Live. Our telephone number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. And we'll get to more of your calls and thoughts in just a moment. In the studio tonight, it is myself, the captain.
It's Ian.
And nobody.
And AnyPay 2.0 is here, and crypto payments are now faster than ever. If you're using Edge Wallet, Handcash, Bitcoin.com, or Dash wallets, your experience should be smooth. I know mine is. But some wallets aren't yet ready for this impressive new technology. These wallet programmers need to hear from you, the wallet users. Visit anypayinc.com/upgrade to learn why some popular wallets are incompatible with AnyPay 2.0, and reach out to those wallet programmers to encourage them to make payments perfect at anypayinc.com/upgrade. That's anypayinc.com/upgrade. All right. So here.
With 2 D's.
No. That's one. Although I'm a fan
You've
of double.
seen Idiocracy.
I'm a fan of double D's, I have to say.
Have you seen the movie Idiocracy?
Repeatedly.
Yeah,
it's upgrade.
Yeah.
GRAYEDD or whatever it is. Yeah.
With 2 Ds.
Yeah, with 2 Ds. So I guess on Free Talk Live, we now technically have the ability to give a second chance.
We do.
And so we're going to do just that. We're going to bring Hio Silver back on. Hio Silver has agreed to make sure he doesn't let any cuss words flow out of his mouth while he's talking to us. So, Hio Silver, you're back on Free Talk Live.
Yeah. I put on a face diaper so that nothing will get out.
Keep the cuss words from flowing. All right. Yeah. What was on your mind tonight?
Actually, I've only used one once when I cleaned my chicken coop this year, last year. At any rate, I was wanting to just share a couple of things. First of all, it's an essay I wrote recently called Freedom Agenda 21, just trying to put something out there, positive things people can do to grow their individual freedom in the year ahead.
Okay.
We've had all this focus on a lot of negative stuff, and, if you focus on the negative, that's what you get.
That's true.
So, at any rate, the paper is on Telegram at, it's at Freedom Agenda 21. Also, it's on the website agorist.market in the main menu on the far right.
Okay.
So what is it?
Through a list. Pardon?
What is it?
Agorist.market.
No, what are you offering?
I'm just sharing a paper with you that I wrote. Positive things people can do in the year ahead.
Can you give us some examples rather than just telling us where to get the paper?
Yeah, I'll do that. I just thought I'd start with that.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, give us
a reason
tease.
why.
Okay. Yeah. Well, at any rate, there's a nice long list of things that people can do. Both.
Give us three. Give us your top three. What do you think are some
out of their area?
Yeah. Give us three things people can do.
3 things. Okay. First of all, if you have a business, start accepting more non-bank payments.
Good one.
I know you guys are big on that.
Yeah, good one.
Also, get out of the banking system. Avoid bank system debt.
And I want to make it clear to our listeners, too, that while we here on Free Talk Live are big on cryptocurrencies aren't the only game in the stop using banking and government currency world. There are other forms of currency. Folks already know probably about gold and silver, but we're also big fans here on Free Talk Live of goldbacks.
Yeah.
And these are a new form of... I'm going to say, I don't know, how do you best describe goldbacks? It's spendable gold. They look beautiful. They're works of art.
Artwork, yeah,
and they're, like the one is 1/100,000th?
No, 1,000th.
Or 1/1,000th of an ounce of gold in the one. And there's different denominations. They have different artwork. They're great. So go ahead.
Yeah, that's a good one. Another one is just investing in yourself. A lot of people don't think about that as an investment, but, learning skills, that's huge. Nobody can take that away from you as long as you're still walking.
Learn how to shoot.
Yeah. Also, there are ways to be able to stay out of debt by, building on your own land, building affordably. There's something in there in the paper about how to do that and how to build also where you're able to have a nice garden. You're generating what you need for your garden without having to use a composting toilet. You can actually put all that composting outside in a tank and have a normal flushing toilet inside. That's one of the things that we're promoting at a new freedom community in the Western Ozarks. So I've been working with Jim Davidson on getting this plan going.
A freedom community?
Yes, it's called Valiant. We're in the process of acquiring the property now. On Telegram, you can learn more about it at Valiant, VALIANT_community. That's also linked in this paper that I mentioned earlier.
Excellent.
So
isn't Jim Davidson the infamous libertarian internet troll?
Yeah, I guess. I don't think of him as a troll, but
I like him.
A good friend.
Whatever happened with Jim Davidson? Because he
back
used to come to the Porcupine Freedom Festival a long time ago. He decided the Ozarks were a better bet?
Well, I don't know. I don't know anything about what his thoughts were there, but I've been in this area for a long time. I have a homestead a few miles away from this property.
Mm-hmm.
It's beautiful here. The weather's nice, good portion of the year.
Have you lived there for a long time?
I've had my homestead for 7 years now here.
So you didn't. So this wasn't a migratory project for you, or you weren't part of some sort of move here project. But you're creating a project where other people, you want them to move near you?
We're creating a freedom community where people can move together to be with kindred spirits in this area if they prefer this part of the country.
Gotcha. What makes your project different than, say, Free State Wyoming?
Well, we're not trying to take over the governance of some territory.
They didn't try very hard either.
Yeah. It's better to first get everybody together in a place where they can, start building a freedom community, and then that can expand into maybe getting some people on the, county commission and stuff like that. And that would be pretty easy to do because we only have 3 commissioners around.
Now, are you guys trying to, count the number of people who are going to move there, or is it just going to be sort of an open invitation?
No, it's a open invitation to people who are willing to abide by the non-aggression principle.
Okay.
And then
and this is starting immediately? This is starting immediately?
We're in the process of acquiring the land. As soon as we can get the land secured, then, this thing's going to roll forward.
And what's that going to look like? You're going to be buying property and then people will be subleasing it from you? What's the plan there?
Yeah, these are long-term leases, like 999 years. So essentially you own the property, but there are a lot of advantages to one entity dealing with whatever issues you might have at the county level or whatever, and also not having things like roads that are possibly taken over by the county, managing our own power grid, those kind of things.
And what was the name of the project again?
Valiant.
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 Well, I wish you guys better luck than Free State Wyoming, because they failed pretty miserably out there.
Yeah, hey, thanks for the call tonight, Ohio Silver. We do appreciate it.
No, they failed pretty miserably, They don't even exist anymore. Their website hasn't been updated in, I don't know, most of a decade.
I'll bet a lot of the people still exist.
I like.
But what are they doing?
I don't know.
That's what I'm saying.
Some of them are probably here.
I liked some of his ideas about what folks can do. Like, I love the practical advice about how you can, make some moves individually for your own benefit to take yourself out of the state as much as possible. That's always good advice.
Yeah, and if you aren't willing to move to the most successful and longest, most established migratory project, which is, of course, the migration to New Hampshire, then maybe they want to take a look at this next Move Here project, which there have been dozens of over the last 15 years, and almost all of them have failed.
And his the long-term lease
almost
bit.
all of them have probably done some level of good.
Really?
I'm sure.
Give me some evidence.
Well, I know that the long-term lease bit they're modeling after some of the Indian reservations. They do a little bit of that. So that particular portion is of interest. We'll have the third hour of Free Talk Live coming up.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with agristhosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to agristhosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's agristhosting.com.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealestate.com.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Introducing the congressional class of 2021. I'm Steve Rappaport, Fox News. The 117th Congress convenes today. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is expected to keep the gavel.
Usually it's a party line vote, but always there's some deviations. You might have people voting present, and this is why Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats have indicated it is so important that they vote for her so that they maintain the majority. And you can't beat somebody with nobody. You know, we've had votes cast over the years for Colin Powell, John Lewis, the late congressman from Georgia.
Fox's Chad Pergram. Over in the Senate, at least a dozen Republicans plan to object to certifying the Electoral College results on Wednesday. Senator Ted Cruz on Fox's Sunday Morning Futures.
We've seen in the last 2 months unprecedented allegations of voter fraud. And that's produced a deep, deep distrust of our democratic process across the country. I think we in Congress have an obligation to do something about that. We have an obligation to protect the integrity of the democratic system.
Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell had urged Republicans not to join House Republicans in these certification challenges. He's publicly acknowledged President-elect Joe Biden is the winner of the race.
Fox's Mark Meredith in Washington. Thousands of President Trump's supporters plan to protest in the nation's capital that day. The balance of power in the Senate remains up for grabs because of a pair of runoff races in Georgia.
In the first runoff race, you have incumbent Republican Kelly Loeffler facing Democrat Reverend Raphael Warnock. In the other race, incumbent David Perdue facing challenger John Ossoff, who says if you send him to Washington, he'll deliver on those $2,000 checks. Now, early voting shows Republicans will need a strong turnout north of here in Atlanta, and that's why President Trump tweeting he's heading down here tomorrow at 9 p.m., rallying in Dalton.
Fox's Griff Jenkins. If Democrats win both races, the chamber would be split 50-50, with Vice President-elect Kamala Harris casting the tie-breaking vote. America is listening to Fox News.
Why are you still going to the post office? Do it all online with Stamps.com. Avoid trips to the post office, print postage, send invoices, letters, or packages, and schedule pickups right from your home or office. 24/7. Get close to 10% off first-class stamps, up to 40% off priority mail, and up to 62% off UPS shipping rates. Go to Stamps.com, click on the microphone, and enter code FOX for a 4-week trial plus free postage and a digital scale. Stamps.com, code FOX.
Tens of thousands of Iraqis gathering in Baghdad to mark 1 year since the killing of a top Iranian general in a U.S. drone strike. Iran responded to the death of Qasem Soleimani by launching a barrage of missiles at bases in Iraq. More than 100 U.S. troops suffered traumatic brain injuries in those attacks. So far, COVID-19 vaccination targets for the American people have fallen well short of promises.
Dr. Monsef Slaoui, top advisor for U.S. vaccine development, says there must be a better effort in getting vaccines to people. He feels the inoculation rate will rise, but said on CBS Face the Nation they need help from states to determine where doses should go, whether it's health facilities or drugstore chains.
That has to be done with people that have granular knowledge of their population, their movements, where the older people are.
Dr. Slaoui says not only will getting past the holiday season help numbers, but there is the promise of yet another vaccine approval that could come in a matter of weeks. Gernal Scott, Fox News.
NBA Hall of Famer Paul Westphal has died. Westphal won a championship with the Boston Celtics in 1974 and moved to coaching after his playing career ended. The 70-year-old was diagnosed with brain cancer last August.
The star of Wonder Woman 1984 announces a new series documenting accomplishments of women.
Gal Gadot took to Instagram to announce a brand new National Geographic docuseries that focuses on women across the globe. It's titled Impact.
It's a powerful docuseries that tells the story of...
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
It's the story that's stunning the tech world. Despite his age, 6-year-old data entry prodigy Jeffrey Peters is already entertaining offers from dozens of major temp agencies. Experts say Jeffrey's abilities to sit still and perform mind-numbing tasks in Excel and Word for hours on end rank with a freelance worker 3 times his age. But Jeffrey's mom says that she knew he was special from early on.
I've always thought that Jeffrey was different from the other kids. He started wearing glasses for computer strain when he was just 3.5, and he already has some pretty significant tendinitis.
I've always wanted to work at Maverick Recruiting.
The data entry whiz is at the center of a bidding war between industry titans like Workforce Solutions and Metropolitan Staffing, both offering lavish perks like starting salaries of up to $15,000 and a cramped cubicle shared with only 2 other temps. Jeffrey's parents say that given the generous offers he's already received, he could be well on the way to affording a dingy rundown apartment of his own.
This is the Onion News Network. Free Talk Live.
Welcome back to Free Talk Live, the live call-in radio talk program where you can get on the air and talk about anything you'd like. Our telephone number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160 if you'd like to join us in the conversation. In the studio tonight, it is...
I'm Ian.
I'm nobody.
And I am the Lord Reverend Captain Kickass, formerly known as Captain Kickass.
LordKickass.com.
LordKickass.com if you care to hear some funny music. There's one tune up there. It's a parody of The Little Drummer Boy, and it's called The Lockdowns Are Dumb, a.k.a. Little Lockdown Boy. It is free. You just enter 0 at the checkout, and you can have that song for $0. You can pay if you want. If you like the song, feel free to make a donation. I'd appreciate it.
We may have a choir-sung version of that song coming out at some point if AnyPay gets that video online.
Nice. Yeah. I would love to see that.
Yeah, me too.
That was a very good time. Thank you for putting that all together, Ian. I appreciate that. So we've been talking about a whole bunch of things, and we've been fielding calls.
Captain.
But you had mentioned that the previous caller had put together a paper that had a list of things, practical things that people can do to increase their freedom. And so you had mentioned as we were listening, as the listeners were listening to our commercial break, that you had 3 things that off the top of your head that people can do. So let's hear them.
Number 1, I would say take off the mask.
Oh, yeah.
And just stop worrying about what other people are going to think and take off the mask.
Yeah.
And if
you're going to be nervous when you do it the first time if you've never done it before, but just, take the thing off. Don't even bring it with you. Just leave it in the car, whatever, walk into the place without it. And when somebody says, hey, you got to put a mask on or something like that.
No, I don't. I'm exempt.
No, I don't. I'm exempt.
I have a medical exemption.
Tell him, eat me. I'm a Twinkie.
Yeah, I generally agree with being nice about it. I don't want to insult the person because most of them are just doing their job. They just, whether they agree with what they're doing or not is another question. They just probably don't want to lose their job, so they're being obedient and doing what they're told. And most of them will leave you alone, likely, when you make this statement. If, however, they then push further and say, well, we don't care about your medical exemption. We don't want your kind around here. Get out of the store or, put a mask on, then that's up to you to make that choice. I would get out of the store in that case, unless there's some sort of real critical reason that you need to go through with it. Just, again, start out with the default position of not wearing that thing. Right. Because by wearing it and disagreeing with it, because there's plenty of people who wear it because they agree. Look at them. They walk, drive around in their cars. They walk down the street. I mean, just these alone or with their lover or whatever. It's ridiculous. But start out by not doing it and then see what happens. Because the people that are putting masks on who don't agree with it, you're part of the problem. I understand your reasons for it. Oh, well, I don't want them to get upset at me, or what will the neighbors think, or I know the store owners and I don't want them to get in trouble. Well, look, if they really don't want your business, then they'll say it to you. They'll make it crystal clear, because just because there's a sign on the door doesn't mean that's actually the policy. Yeah. There are exemptions to this thing in most places. They're written into the various different governmental rules. Now, again, it's their business, so they can set whatever policy they want to, and I will, when that policy is made clear, I will make my choice. Right. But until then, to me, a sign on the door for this thing is just an indicator that they're trying not to be hurt by the government, not that that's their actual policy.
Well, the thing is, if the sign is required, then it's not a communication from the store owner. It's a communication from the government.
Right.
You don't have to pay any attention to them because they're dicks.
So that's one thing.
All right, number two.
Another thing I would say is to join the White Rose. I'm a big fan of what is going on with the White Rose.
What is the White Rose, Ian, for our listeners who don't know?
It is the resurgence of an idea that happened originally during the World War II. It was created to propagandize against the Nazis originally. They ended up putting the founders of it to death because it was so successful. And maybe the founders of this one won't get put to death, hopefully.
Yes.
Because it's a little more diffuse. It's a little more, hard to track people through things like Telegram and that sort of thing.
Just in case, try to be armed if you're involved with this thing.
T.me/join the White Rose is the URL. That'll take you to their Telegram room. If you don't have Telegram, you'll need to get it in order to make that link work. It's T.me/join the White Rose, all is one word. And that'll get you in there. And then what they'll give you is about a 90 megabyte file that I guess it's a zip file or whatever. You download this file, and it is what is contained within that file are dozens of images that you can then send to a label printer, which they say you can get these label printers for as cheap as $100 or even less secondhand.
Yeah, you can get a used one on Craigslist for $30-$40.
$30? Yeah. Now, I don't know what the labels cost, but they're probably not that expensive.
I haven't looked into the label cost, but
and apparently some of them are relatively temporary. I was talking to an artist online today, and that was important to me because I said I would be uncomfortable using them on private property.
Me too. I wouldn't want to do that.
If it can be easily peeled off, if it's just kind of something that's loosely stuck there and somebody can pull it off and take it away with them, then that changes things. That's more like
I still don't like the idea of putting. I still don't. I wouldn't litter on someone's private property either.
But
so
public property, on the other hand,
I
there's
feel
no such thing as public property. If it's public, it's not property. If it's property, it's not public.
Government-owned property.
There's plenty of so-called government property out there that could be useful for putting the stickers on.
But it's all closed. Is anybody going to go there and see them?
No. Like going downtown, you can put it on poles, right? Like light poles or message boards,
trash cans,
but not Polish people because they might.
Don't invade someone's personal space.
Right. Yes.
But the idea is these are very creative labels. They're funny. They're poignant. They're really they're interesting. They look good. They're well designed, and you'll probably find some. If you're of our mindset, you'll probably find some that you really appreciate. So I would say download those labels, get that label printer, and print them out. Although I will say, I agree with you to not put these things on private property generally, but I don't think I care as much about, let's say, Bank of America's ATM.
Right.
Well, I mean, if you're a bank, you're part of the government.
Right.
It's like being a military contractor.
Yeah, so I'd bend the rules on those sorts of
I'd burn a
private
bank
property.
down without thinking twice about it. Those guys are scumbags.
So join the White Rose, join the resistance.
Yeah, those are two things that you can do right now to make a difference. And then, of course, number 3, something else that you can do is open your business. If you've got a business and it's been closed and you're cowering and you're afraid of what the government's going to do, well, they're going to put you out of business the longer you stay closed.
Sure enough.
Why don't you just go right ahead and open it up? Follow the example of the gym in Belmar, New Jersey, the Attilis gym, who heroically has, done everything against the so-called orders of the government gang there. And that would be a good idea. Now, of course, I'll go ahead and throw in a bonus. Move to New Hampshire if you absolutely really want to succeed. If you really want to have a chance at seeing more freedom in your lifetime, you have to combine together with other people who have a like mindset. Otherwise, we're just all going to get, crushed.
So I'll do 3 things extemporaneously. The first thing that I would say is be physically and mentally prepared to fight, because the day may come when you don't, when you have to, and in violence, he who hesitates is lost.
Yep.
So that's the first thing I'd say. The second thing I would say is find ways to network with other people, whether it's over the internet, whether it's people close to you. Get in contact with other like-minded people, both to, progress toward your goal and also just to keep your head straight. And
number 3.
Thirdly, I would say, if you are able, find a way to aid in the spread of cryptocurrency.
Of COVID.
Buy it and sell it, move it to where it's needed, because we've got to yeet our dollars to yeet that government power.
I couldn't agree with
good ones.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with
and
both
move to
of
New
you.
Hampshire.
603-283-6160 is our phone number. Free Talk Live has got more coming up.
Pork chop. His coat is very thick. He's an Akita, German Shepherd, Lab, Husky mix. Harold, the Border Collie Pit mix, has the most beautiful jet black coat. Stuart, my rat terrier, has fur now where he never had it before. DINOVITE.com. Dinovite will give them a beautiful, lustrous coat. It will make you smile.
You get some Dinovite, how happy your dog will be.
DINOVITE.com.
Having taken her father's throne, Sarah Calhoun has fallen out with one of her best allies, and her brother Nathaniel heads into Imperial Philadelphia with a reckless plan. Her uncle Thomas, armed with new powers and new allies, aims to remove Sarah from her throne and from the world of the living. To survive and to gain the strength she needs to fight an impossible war, Sarah must unite the Mound Builder Kings to enact an ancient rite that will propel her beyond mortality. Servant Daughter by T.J. Butler is the newest entry in the Dragon Award-winning Witchy War series from Baen Books at BaenBooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it! You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to DivvyProject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from DivvyProject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. DivvyProject.org. DIVI Project.org.
Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 28th through July 4th for ForkFest 2021 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. ForkFest happens the week after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and ForkFest is decentralized, which means no one is in charge. That also means there's no ticket cost. Just reserve your camping, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 28th through July 4th. Where better to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire? You can relax and enjoy the camaraderie of like-minded people, or you can create whatever experience or event you'd like others to have. If you're planning an event for ForkFest, be sure to let others know in advance. You can connect with fellow ForkFesters via the unofficial Telegram chat or the ForkFest forum. Links to those are on the unofficial website, forkfest.party. Mark your calendar for June 28th through July 4th, 2021. We'll see you at forkfest.party. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
You can sign up to receive the latest about the Liberty Radio Network via our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. That's updates.lrn.fm.
Welcome back to Free Talk Live, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks for listening. Our telephone number here in the studio is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. In the studio tonight, it's the Captain, Ian, and nobody. And before we continue, I wanted to tell you about ForkFest 2021, where you can join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 28th through July 4th for ForkFest 2021 at Rogers Campground in the absolutely gorgeous White Mountains of New Hampshire. ForkFest happens the week after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and ForkFest is decentralized, which means no one is in charge. It also means there's no ticket cost. Just reserve your camping, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 28th through July 4th. Where better to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire? You can relax and enjoy the camaraderie of like-minded people, or you can create whatever experience or event you'd like others to experience. If you're planning an event for ForkFest, be sure to let others know in advance. You can connect with fellow ForkFesters via the unofficial Telegram chat or the ForkFest forum. Links to those are on the unofficial website, forkfest.party. Mark your calendar for June 28th through July 4th, 2021, and we'll see you at forkfest.party.
Party!
Yes, because we've seen from this past year that ForkFest and the Porcupine Freedom Festival that occurs before it was kind of really the only thing going on
during the summertime.
And
it was the moment of sanity.
It really was. And it could be that it's going to continue on. We keep seeing these politicians kicking this can down the road, expanding the lockdowns, expanding the mandates, continuing them. Oh, no, we're going to do 3 months more. We're going to do 2 months more, 2 weeks more.
They've already been saying.
It will go on until we will no longer permit it to go on.
Right, which is why I was saying take off the mask, reopen your business, and then we can go back to normal as soon as you're ready. But to your point, Captain, there's a headline today, and it's really there's no reason to get into the details of it. UK scientists worry vaccines may not protect against the South African coronavirus variant. Remember, they came out a couple weeks ago and they said, "Oh, there's now this UK variant of the coronavirus. It's spreading faster than it's ever spread before. It's not any more deadly, but it's spreading faster than it's ever spread before." And now they're just sort of they're tossing it out there that, hey, by the way, this new variant, the vaccines might not even work for this new variant. You're going to have to get a second vaccine later this year.
And not just that. There's a whole bunch of other viruses out there that have not been annihilated. There's tuberculosis.
Yep.
There's
kills
the
over
flu.
1 million each year.
There is cancer. There's all kinds of things you can die of.
Yep.
And there always have been. And there always will be.
And they kill way more people than COVID supposedly has. So
right, and they also
live free or die, because death is not the worst of evils.
Yeah, they were also telling people that even if they do get the vaccine, that won't mean that they'll have to they can stop wearing masks.
Right, you still have to wear the mask. You still have to lock down. You still have to social distance.
Yeah. So
well, hey, I guess I'm ahead of the game because I haven't had the vaccine. Not going to have the vaccine, and I'm not going to wear a mask either.
Very well. Let's go to your calls and thoughts. We have David calling from New Mexico. David, you are on Free Talk Live.
Yeah, setting odds and taking bets. So, in these 4 charges against me, I have pounded DA Raul Torres, Bernalillo County, New Mexico, into the mat on 3 of them. He surrendered to me on those 3. There's 1 left. And the final hearing is this week, I believe, the 8th at 9:45 a.m.
I hope they make him commit honorable seppuku.
And this is in relation to what? You got to do a quick recap here.
This is where I'm, just like I'm calling into your radio station to annoy people. I was calling into the public KUNM college station. They had a talk program like yours once a week, which is now defunct, by the way. They went out of business. I didn't hear what you said.
I said, not like ours. We love you.
Oh, great. So anyway, they called their personal police force, University of New Mexico Police Force, had me written up on 4 charges because I dared to call into their program after they told me they didn't want to hear from me anymore. And I argued that because they're owned by the taxpayers and paid for by the taxpayers, they can't have that choice. They got to be more equal in their distribution of their resources. They disagreed, had me charged 4 times, and I've beaten them on 3 of the 4 charges, and there's 1 left. And it's interesting to note that we're demanding the evidence, and for 5 years now, they've had 5 years to deliver this as evidence, and they still haven't delivered. Defendant needs interviews with 2 witnesses, 25 police reports, audio recordings, state to research, and set interviews reset for pretrial conference in approximately 45 days. Well, that's up on the 8th, and we'll see whether they show up with any of that evidence. They've had 5 years and haven't delivered.
Aren't you supposed to be able to review the evidence that they have before your hearing?
It's discovery.
Well, theoretically, there's a public attorney involved, a Roberta Yurchik, but she has stopped communicating with me as of about 4 or 5 months ago. Doesn't communicate with me at all, so I haven't had the opportunity to view any of this evidence.
Fun.
Yeah. So anyway, taking bets. Then the bet is is this a setup or will they surrender? In other words, are they going to, if they surrendered on the previous 3, are they going to surrender on the 4th one, or was that a strategic move on their part to put all of their resources into fighting 1 case while letting the other 3 go? That's the bet.
I'll give you an answer, but first I have a question. What is this 4th charge? What is the thing that they're claiming, that you did?
Well, stalking, of course.
So that's the terminology they use, is stalking for this 4th.
This one is stalking as compared to they used annoying and harassing and whatever for other ones. But anyway, stalking is this one. It's domestic.
Yeah, I think that since you've gone through the motions, you've gone through the system, so to speak. I'm optimistic here. I think that they're just going to toss it. I think you're going to show up and they're going to be like, oh, well, you didn't bring evidence, and so we'll dismiss it. That's what I think, or I hope anyway.
Yeah, I would say that's the likely odds. It'd be a long shot for the other one, but it would be fun if they would decide that they wanted to fight after all. That would be fun. So bring it on, Raul Torres. Bring it on.
Word. Anything else today, David?
No, that pretty much sums it up. But
right.
Thank you.
Best of luck with that, and give us the update after it happens, because I will want to know what goes on. Appreciate the call today. Yeah, the system, it is designed to work against you in almost every way, every shape, every form that it could possibly be designed to do so, in my opinion. And people like David, they get caught up in it all the time. They'll throw whatever they want at the wall and see what sticks and hope that you don't fight it so that they can go ahead and prosecute you.
Well, thanks for having stones, David.
Yeah. 603-283-6160 is our phone number. More Free Talk Live is on the way.
Maxwell, he was a runaway to rescue, great disposition. About 9 years ago, he was scratching a lot, and he started losing some hair. My vet, she says, oh, he must be allergic to the chicken. Another vet said, it's the grain. Third vet, she said it's the weather, something in the air. And then somebody said, DINOVITE.com. I had been listening to these Dynavite ads, hearing about different stories of different people, and it just clicked. I got my first 90-day supply, and it took a grand total of 2 weeks. And the dog stopped itching, the hair stopped falling out.
Dynavite is nutrition.
And Maxwell loves it. Now he's close to 10, and the Dynavite's a big part of Maxwell's diet.
Dynavite for life. You won't believe how happy your dog will be.
And he's a spectacular dog.
DINOVITE.com.
To help reduce you to a state of constant panic about a hypothetical doomsday scenario you have no ability to control, we now present The Onion Explains Nuclear Proliferation. The world's nuclear facilities are safeguarded by a bunch of really huge guys. We're talking absolutely jacked. With one of these muscle freaks stationed outside every missile silo and uranium processing plant worldwide, there's no way to get anywhere close to a nuclear complex without getting your ass beat. This nuclear facility in Siberia is rumored to be among the most secure in the world because they have like 6 of these. And you can just forget about hijacking a nuclear submarine too, because all of them have these totally roided up dudes that'll just swim up to you and choke you out.
This is the Onion News Network.
So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
A congressman recently revealed that legislation totaling 2,900 pages and involving more than $1 trillion was available to members of Congress for less than 48 hours to study and consider. That's over 60 pages of legislation per hour. Do you think anyone read the entire bill? I'm Jim Babka with DownsizeDC.org. Consider a proposal buried in a 3,200-page, $388 billion bill, which would have empowered committee chairmen or their agents to examine Americans' tax returns. When this horrible provision came to light, no one claimed to know how it got into the bill. One congressman questioned said, I didn't write it, I didn't approve it, I wasn't even consulted. If your attorney represented you this way, he might be disbarred. But this is how Congress represents you every day. That's why DownsizeDC.org has created the Read the Bills Act. You can force Congress to read their bills before they pass them at DownsizeDC.org.
What's up next? Visit the Liberty Radio Network program guide to find out at shows.lrn.fm. That's shows.lrn.fm.
Welcome back to Free Talk Live, the live call-in radio talk program where you can take control of the airwaves and talk about whatever is on your mind. Our call-in number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the captain.
It's Ian.
And nobody.
And we're going to shift gears a little bit. And what are we going to talk about, Mr. Freeman? You have something about Camp COVID?
Well, I saw a post from Vin Armani, former co-host here on Free Talk Live. He's always got some interesting stuff going on.
Is he named after the suit?
You'd have to ask him.
Okay, all right.
But I don't think it was born with that name. I don't think.
Right.
I think the suit was named after him.
There you go.
That's classy.
He is handsome. But anyway, he posted I guess it was an image of a screenshot of what was ostensibly the CDC's website.
Okay.
And I went ahead and I Googled the text so I could make sure that it was actually a real image, because you never know with social media whether something's been doctored or whatever. But I did find the page in question. It was updated on July 26th of 2020. So not recently, but during COVID.
Summertime.
That was recent.
Well, I mean, seems like a long time ago to me, but nonetheless, the CDC reporting here that they have a thing that they're calling the shielding approach. Now that sounds real safe, right? Like you're shielding people.
The shielding approach.
It's all about protection, and it's a different term. They've changed the wording. It's no longer a concentration camp. It's now a shielding approach.
So this is when they take something that they're doing and make up new words for it to hide what it really is.
Correct.
The amazing thing is that I laughed at Alex Jones when he predicted all this.
Yeah. So the document presents considerations from the perspective of the CDC for implementing the shielding approach in humanitarian settings. They're going to do it humanitarian.
Oh, it's a humanitarian concentration camp.
Right. No,
we're bombing for humanity.
Look, there's nothing to worry about here. The government would never ever do it like the Nazis did.
Of course
they
not.
would do it humanitarian when they do it. So, as outlined in guidance documents focused on camps, displaced populations, and low resource settings, this approach has never been documented and has raised questions and concerns among humanitarian partners who support response activities in these settings. The purpose of this document is to highlight potential implementation challenges of the shielding approach from the CDC's perspective and guide thinking around implementation in the absence of empirical data.
Because you must control the minds of your slaves first.
Right. Note, in the absence of empirical data, they will be controlling thinking. So they don't have anything they can, point to, and it wouldn't matter anyway because they're advocating for concentration camps.
The thought police are real.
Yeah. Considerations are based on current evidence known about the transmission and severity of coronavirus disease 2019 and may need to be revised as more information becomes available. What is the shielding approach? It aims to reduce the number of severe COVID-19 cases by limiting contact between individuals at higher risk of developing severe disease, high risk, and the general population, or low risk. High-risk individuals would be temporarily relocated to safe or green zones.
Didn't they temporarily relocate a bunch of Japanese during World War II?
Yes.
They temporarily relocated a lot of Jews during World War II as well.
Mm-hmm. Oh, right. That's right.
Established at the household, so they'll create these safe or, quote, green zones at the household, neighborhood, camp/sector, or community level.
What is a camp/sector? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't like the sound of that.
We have yet to see that, I suspect. They've got plans for them, or the community
they've
level.
got FEMA camps all over the country. It's been documented.
This will be a CDC camp. Depending on the context.
They'll just borrow them from FEMA. They don't have to build their own camp.
Camp COVID, as I'm calling them.
They will have minimal contact with family members and other low-risk residents.
Like jail. They were very careful to shield us from that when I was in jail, too.
What's a low-risk resident?
Someone who's not high risk, as in someone who has a higher risk of developing severe disease.
Now, are they judging risk by medical conditions or political affiliation?
That's not being made clear here. They try to make it sound like they're talking about sick people or people likely to get sick. But that could mean someone who doesn't want to wear a mask.
Right. So, and who are these people that get to make these decisions? Are they also
they're the
elected,
masters,
government bureaucrats,
or are they right? Okay, so
I mean that's my presumption.
Yeah, my presumption as well.
So they say here, in theory, shielding. One more sentence of the other paragraph. For this reason, shielding approach suggests physically separating high-risk individuals from the general population to prioritize the use of limited available resources and avoid implementing long-term containment measures among the general population.
I just want to take a minute to suggest we separate politicians from the rest of the universe.
I suggest that we separate politicians from their heads.
Current evidence indicates that older adults and people of any age who have serious underlying medical conditions are at higher risk from severe illness. In most humanitarian settings, older population groups make up a smaller percentage of the population. So they say they want to physically separate these individuals from the general population. In theory, they say shielding may serve its objective to protect high-risk populations from disease and death. However, implementation of this approach necessitates strict adherence to protocol. Inadvertent introduction of the virus into a green zone may result in rapid transmission amongst the most vulnerable populations the approach is trying to protect.
Oh, you mean like when the government forced the nursing homes to take COVID patients and murdered a bunch of people?
That is correct.
Okay.
A summary of the shielding approach is shown in table number 1, which they then say is called Guidance for Prevention of COVID-19 Infection Amongst High-Risk Individuals in Low-Resource, Displaced, and Camp-like Settings.
Camp COVID, coming soon.
What does that mean? So
that means Auschwitz.
Yeah. So according to this table that they are telling us to now look at the household level, it would be a specific room/area designated for high-risk individuals who are physically isolated from other household members. At the neighborhood level, it would be a designated shelter or group of shelters, which would be max 5 to 10 households within a small camp or area.
Can we just call them what they are? Cattle stalls?
Where high-risk members are grouped together. Neighbors swap households to
Concentrated, you mean?
Neighbors will swap households.
Unconcentrated.
Neighbors will swap households to accommodate high-risk individuals. So that means that they're going to tell you that you now have to leave your home because they're going to designate your home as the high-risk home. They're going to move the high-risk people into your home, and then you'll have to swap with another person, and then you can go live in their home. It's like that wife swap TV show.
Yeah,
from a while back.
Or
It'll
the wife
fun.
swapping that they do in China, where they take the Muslim people away and then they assign Han Chinese to go live with their wives and sleep with their wives.
The camp or sector level, this will look like a group of shelters, such as schools, community buildings within a camp/sector.
A commune.
Which would have a maximum of 50 high-risk individuals per single green zone, where high-risk individuals are physically isolated together. So they've got plans for all kinds of different implementations here of these so-called green zones.
Sounds like
when y'all
POW
come to take
camp.
me, send bachelors. You don't want to send married men.
It sounds a lot like a prison or war camp, is what it sounds like to me. It also sounds like a lot like cattle, right? With farmers. We got a couple of barns, right? Some open fields where you can roam around, and then, oh, well, you know what? This other farmer over here needs some of this type of cattle, and you need some of the other type of cattle. So, like, every now and again, you'll trade, for different brands of cattle. I wonder if you're going to get branding, too. We're going to get brands?
Wouldn't surprise me. You're going to have some way of identifying these
what
high-risk
sector
people.
And, all that,
Just put a yellow star.
Sounds to me like a prelude to mass murder.
Maybe some sort of serial number could be tattooed upon everybody at one of these camps.
Or on your wrist.
On your arm or something, perhaps.
And don't forget the yellow star you could, attach to everything.
Or maybe a digital chip or something could be implanted under your skin.
Scarlet letter?
Easy.
How about that one?
There you go. Yeah, that'll work.
Right.
Yeah, these are all viable options.
Right. What's old is new again.
603-283-6160. More Free Talk Live coming your way.
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this, right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get 1 free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm. I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15% to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm. So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up at any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com.
Live video of our Keene, New Hampshire-based shows is streamed on DLive. Please follow and share at dlive.lrn.fm. That's dlive.lrn.fm.
Final segment of the Monday night live edition of Free Talk Live. I guess that's redundant. Live edition of Free Talk Live. It's better than the not live edition of Free Talk Live.
I don't know. Ours was pretty good on Thursday.
We did have a pretty good New Year's episode, and we didn't really talk about show prep. We just basically conversed. That was fun.
Yeah, it was good.
It was a good time. We were both on, as it were. But you probably won't get on air tonight, but for future reference, our number is 603-283-6160. In the studio, it's myself, the Reverend Captain Kickass.
It's Ian.
And it's nobody here with a joke about COVID.
What is it?
You probably won't get it.
And so while we're doing things oddly, let's go ahead and say thank you to Troy. Troy is a silver level amplifier. What's an amplifier, you might ask? Well, no, it's not something you plug your guitar in, although it's actually that too. But when we're talking about amplifiers here on Free Talk Live, we mean somebody who's gone to amp.freetalklive.com and decided to contribute to this radio program in an effort to get us onto more radio stations.
They just have to decide to contribute, or do they have to actually do it?
You have to decide and then also do it. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's better.
Yeah, those two things need to follow basically in that order. I guess you could contribute before you decide, but it would seem like if you contributed, you've decided. Amp.freetalklive.
And if you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice.
Thank you. From the lyrics from the greatest three-piece rock band ever. Well, maybe not ever, but Rush. So Troy has contributed $5 a month. You can donate more if you like to. And there's different perks for the different levels of contribution. So
I like perks.
If you like this program, you like the characters, you like the content, you're a supporter of freedom, and you want to help us do what we do here on this show, please consider amplifying over at amp.freetalklive.com. And thank you, Troy. You are very much appreciated. We've been talking about this document from the CDC that seems to imply their preparedness for something I like to call Camp COVID.
And I like to call concentration camp.
Yes.
Now, these also have been called FEMA camps in the past, among other things. Can you enlighten us some more, Mr. Freeman?
Well, I'm going to post the full link because it is a lengthy document. We're not going to read the whole thing to you here, but it's from the CDC. It was published over the summertime back in July, and it is entitled Interim Operational Considerations for Implementing the Shielding Approach to what they say will prevent COVID-19 infections in humanitarian settings. And the shielding approach is code for putting people into camps.
Great.
That's what that means. And actually, in their conclusion, they actually admit, quote, so, man, remember, the title of this thing is to prevent COVID-19 infections in humanitarian settings. The conclusion here says the shielding approach is an ambitious undertaking which may prove effective in preventing COVID-19 infection among high-risk populations if well managed. While the premise is based on mitigation strategies used in the United Kingdom, there is no empirical evidence whether this approach will increase, decrease, or have no effect on morbidity and mortality during the COVID-19 epidemic in various humanitarian settings.
But what they do know is that they will be able to have a very compelling effect on the mortality statistics of being a dissident against the government. It's going to be a great opportunity to murder people who don't agree with the GAM.
And what exactly is a humanitarian setting?
Well,
it's concentration camp.
Yeah. It's just something that they're plastering all over this document to make it sound like, they're concerned about that sort of thing. In this practicing. So what this is it's a document that is essentially the CDC looking at a set of specifications here and then adding more specifications to that. So for instance, there's another chart here which shows the shielding document's suggested prerequisites for the implementation of this, and then there's additional considerations as suggested by the CDC. So let me give you an example of this comparison.
Please.
So on the original side, the original document says community acceptance and involvement in the design and implementation, because you want it to make it look like you've involved the people, right? Sort of like when the city council says, we're going to make a new ordinance. We want you to come and give us your input because we care about what you think. And anyone that's ever been to one of these things knows they don't care about what you think. They're just liars. They're just setting a microphone up and allowing you to talk for 3 minutes or whatever so they can make it look like that they've cared about what you think.
Right.
So that's what they are saying. So, we're going to put these community centers together where we're going to put high-risk individuals to keep them safe. And here's all these members of the community who think this is a good idea. So CDC adds to this. They say even with community involvement, there may be a risk of stigmatization. Isolation and separation from family members, loss of freedom, and personal interactions may require additional psychosocial support structures and systems.
Wait, what's a psychosocial support structure or system?
Brainwashing.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, why don't they just say that?
Because
why can't they just use plain English?
Because they're the government. They lie. It's what they do.
Yeah, so that's one example of how the CDC is expanding the original proposals on this thing to make it sound like, to try to make this more palatable. Timeline considerations. Plan for an extended duration of implementation time, at least 6 months. So, whenever they start this program, don't expect it to stop anytime soon. They say the shielding approach proposes that green zones be maintained until one of the following circumstances arises. 1, sufficient hospitalization capacity is established, which doesn't seem like they're going to do anything to try to increase that. 2, effective vaccine or therapeutic options become widely available. Or 3, the COVID-19 epidemic subsides. And they say, then they say they don't know when these things are going to happen, et cetera, and so on. Finally here, there's, again, I'm just kind of skipping around this. Here's another interesting, some of these things suggest like what they might have planned, right? So here's another one.
Okay.
Consideration. Plan for potential disruption of social networks. And then they give further explanation about this. They say community celebrations like religious holidays, bereavement, funerals, and other rites
and there's going to be a lot of funerals.
And other rites of passage are cornerstones of many societies. Proactive planning ahead of time, including strong community engagement and risk communication, is needed to better understand the issues and concerns of restricting individuals from participating in communal practices because they're being shielded. Failure to do so could lead to both interpersonal and communal violence.
I was shielded for 1.5 years for weed.
Yeah.
Oh, shielded. I get it now.
They're shielding the so-called high-risk individuals from the low-risk individuals by shielding them away into a concentration camp.
And they're shielding them from freedom.
That's right.
And they're shielding them from making their own choices and from having a life that's worth living.
Correct.
Can we just shield politicians from the rest of the people?
That'd be a great idea.
I mean, if they're saying this is a good idea, we'll let them be the first ones to try it out.
These changes are difficult in developed, stable settings. Thus, they may be particularly challenging in humanitarian settings, which bring their own set of multifaceted challenges that need to be taken into account. They say that household-level shielding seems to be the most feasible and dignified, as it allows for the least disruption to family structure and lifestyle. However, it's the most susceptible to the introduction of a virus due to necessary movement or interaction outside the green zone, less oversight, and often large household sizes. So they're saying the household's not going to work because we can't keep an eye on you. You might do things that you're not supposed to do, like go out of your green zone.
Weren't all the wars that they fought humanitarian missions?
Yeah.
They only bombed the people that they loved.
Humanitarian bombing is something that, pops up from time to time with governments.
Implementation of this approach, talking about the wider approach of this whole thing, will involve careful planning, additional resources, strict adherence, and strong multi-sector coordination, requiring agencies to consider the potential repercussion among populations that have collectively experienced physical and psychological trauma, which makes them more vulnerable to adverse psychosocial consequences.
This sounds like that movie where they, the Hunger Games, right? Where
Yeah.
they had, like the sectors and
yes,
you had to fight
stay
for
in the green zone,
stay in your zone and all that kind of stuff. Well, we
Something bad's coming.
We are out of time. Thanks for listening, everybody.
It's the government.
freetalklive.com, and you can hear us 7 nights a week. Have a good night. Peace.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place.